You need to be a quick meeting or a long?
Quick one, yeah.
Well, I think we're going to get a dead start because I had 20 minutes set aside for the regulations.
Oh.
I'd like to open this meeting at 7:30. And I guess anybody got any omissions or corrections for the minutes, or do you want to hold off when Diana gets here?
Let's hold off.
Yeah.
Okay. Update on the 495 spill response?
Yeah, just to let you know quickly, the town is hiring sort of a third-party review person, and Corey Godfrey's leading that charge, and we just had a site walk Thursday, I guess, out there so that the new guys, Geo Insight, can get familiar with the area and everything. I mean, it looks like they're basically have it under control, but they're gonna do some extra testing, and it'll be at least a month or two.
I was there Sunday, and I was wondering, is the gate still down, closed, or restricting it or something?
The gate is still down. It never cut off the flow, because it never backed up. And there's some decent flow going through there.
Yeah.
So it's getting under the gate somehow. But they have the booms and everything down there, so
Oh,
we'll see how they do it.
okay. I see we got 10 Fort Pond Way on my paper.
Yeah, so Bill called from Stansky Manary, wants to be on the agenda for the 19th. I reminded him that they owe us a site walk, saying go out and look at the vernal pool and all that stuff. I also suggested that he stake out the road and the mitigation areas, which he hadn't really been asked. I said, well, do yourself a favor and, and stake it. So he and I were looking at maybe trying to do it March 15th or 16th, so he has time to get out there and stake it. So I don't know if either of those dates work for you. That's, what is that, Thursday or Friday? Any of those late afternoons work for you guys?
Potentially.
Which dates again?
Those are Thursday and Friday, right? The 15th or 16th?
Right, 17th is St.
Thank you.
Patrick's Day.
Oh, there you go.
15th could work for me.
I could probably do the 15th as well, like a late afternoon.
So 4:45, 4:30,
4:45.
4:45?
4:45 should be fine.
And I'll send around an email and see if we can get anybody else out there.
Okay.
And yeah, that was it for him.
Um,
And then the other thing I had on there was, if anybody cares, DOT is having a public information meeting on the 2A Willow Road, Bruce Street intersection,
Wonderful. When?
Wednesday, March 14th, if they didn't mess up their public notice. So,
What
if you wanna-
time?
You can take that with you. I actually don't, I'm not sure if there's any, I don't think there's any wetlands there. I think there's some in the, what's that town, is that Air?
Yeah.
The Air side, maybe? I'm not sure how
But it-
far,
but
what they're doing.
It's more than 100 feet.
Yeah, I think it is, so.
What's it about?
Intersection improvements, the DOT's.
In other words, they're going to screw it up. It's working fine now with the lights.
Well, there you go. You know what you're doing on the 14th.
Yeah. It has made a hell of a difference as far as getting in and out of there. The lights change relatively quickly and stop traffic so you can get out of
Right.
Willow Road or Bruce Street. You have a fighting chance now.
So the other thing I had was just an FYI, because I was banging my head on the table. K is about to come in and file for their order conditions for the top part.
Looks like they're going right at it.
Stop. And Corey can probably give you more information when he comes in on the 19th or whenever he's next in. But it looks like there may be an agreement in works for the Mill Pond dredging. And New England Forestry Foundation owns some land up there. And there may be this swap where Cardillo, the mounds of dirt, end up swap out with some Neff property. And then Cardillo says, maybe they will take all the dredge material, no charge. And of course, then they'll sell it. So if if all the stars align, it would save a lot of money, millions of dollars, and it would mean because the other proposal is to spread all the dredge over the wetlands and make them into a different kind of wetlands. Which they've done before.
Yeah.
Will we do the dredging, the core?
The Corps would do the dredging, yeah. So, stay tuned.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
It would be amazing.
Both sides of Mill Road? There's 3,
I think it is both sides of Mill Road.
then there's Howard Ave, too.
It's definitely the south side. I'm not sure if they're getting into the north.
So Cadillo will take the dredge, do they know it's in the sediment?
They will take the dredge. I guess, I went into this briefly with Corey. They have done, analysis of it, how much water, how long it'll take to do water. And I think Cordillo would mix it with sand and sell it.
No, I was thinking more contaminants.
I do not know. I don't know if they've done a sediment analysis. Because I do know it's a whole different set of regulations of sediment instead of
That'd be
soil.
the thing I'd be concerned about, being right off 495 and the accidents.
Yeah, but see, Cadillo's right at the head of it all, so it's,
No, I'm concerned about the sediments in the pond.
yeah, I know, but he's right at the head of it. So the stuff's it's gonna go right back where it
Well, he's taking off.
originated.
No, he's taking
He's taking off the site.
Well, he's taking it to Taylor Street, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he would sell it to clients.
Yeah, but I'm saying what I'm getting at, any drainings or anything that go back from his place, it's gonna go right back where it was.
Yeah, I don't know where the dewatering would happen. But
Yeah.
I'm sure the Corps must have looked at the sediments, one would think. But
You would think.
like I said, stay
There
tuned.
was a lot of stuff there at one point that came from Verifine. From the soaps and all that stuff.
We'll see.
And in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking that this may be one where they might need a waiver under the public interest piece of things. So,
Okay.
did you want to skip the regulations tonight, I assume, until you have more people?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if I'm dragging my feet, so I just want to make sure that,
Amy, could you just go by, if you have a chance, swing by the property adjacent to 15 Great Road? It's a landscaper that keeps, it's a house right there. On
okay, so
the-
that must be like I thought
It's the
15 Great
last house.
was
It's
the last.
No.
Oh, it's kind of across the street?
No, just right
It's
next
right
to
there?
it. There's
Yeah.
one more property.
All right.
Used to be the Sled's property.
I think I remember there being wetland back there, right?
There's a
Because
brook.
I think there was some wetland back there. I'm not sure how
Anyway,
deep. Yeah.
I've noticed a bunch of fill material. I just don't know if it's getting close or within, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's could be potentially within 50 feet or, anyway, if you could just maybe take a
Yeah,
quick
yeah.
gander.
Yep,
Thanks.
yep, that's easy. I've been doing all sorts of site visits, and I have not had a chance to write any of them up. You'll hear about probably most of them tonight. Chestnut Lane is actually doing okay. They've paved that driveway for those 2 houses. They have a little bit of an issue, so I'm just gonna send them an email for now. And it hasn't gotten past the silt fence, but it's like really high. Just wanna pass that around. The point was in pretty good shape. Basin 3 was overflowing, but the stream down at where it goes around the Marriott and all that stuff was surprisingly clean. So they've been flocking like crazy. They've redone their little waterfall flock. They're going to recycle as much as they can and decide Wednesday morning if it's clean enough to pump so they can be ready for this next round. Durkee, I went out maybe Thursday, pointed some things out to them, and then you went out,
Sunday.
okay, yeah, because I went out Saturday, and you went out Sunday after they had fixed it, because the Basin 2, the water was going around the outlet control structure instead of backing up and going through the outlet control structure. So they've had at least a temporary fix for now and see what's going on. Because if you remember, it was bypassing that outlet control structure before.
It looked pretty muddy, though, so.
Well, they were out there with the backhoe, so.
But
Oh, the color of the water.
replacement substance that they used
Yeah,
looked very muddy, like it would be susceptible.
you would think it would just wash out again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it would just silt.
Silt,
Silt
yeah,
right
yeah.
down. So they might want to put some sort of jute
They're gonna have to do
netting
more
or
than,
something.
than they did, since they've had 2 problems there now.
Yeah.
And they had been pumping the farm pond, they stopped during the storm. I noticed today they were pumping again, so they're trying to draw that down. Basin 3, which is at the intersection, inside, was discharging but clean.
Yeah, it looked good. when I saw it.
Basin 1 was as full as I've seen it, actually, but it was clean. I can't remember if it was discharging or not. The fields out behind Basin 1 were very wet, and the stream under Grimes Lane stayed clean.
Stayed clean, because I saw evidence that, at least it looked like during the high flow, that silt was going down.
Was going down there.
Unless it was from a
Could
different
be,
event.
Could be.
Um, At least further down, it looked like further down as you go into the field, that part, that section of the stream, there was a lot of silt covering all of the buildup of leaves and things like that were covered with silt.
Oh, I'm not talking about the intermittent stream at Basin 2.
Yes.
I'm talking about the main stream over by the Grimes-Taylor
Oh.
intersection.
Oh, Grimes Taylor,
that
okay,
big
okay.
one.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
there was
didn't
definitely
really
stuff
look at
getting
that.
into the swale.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that's all I got.
I did see gullying too at house number 9, but it looked like they had wood chips all along the.
I think that was, I can't remember what the house numbers are.
Number
but
9 is the first house on your right as you come in from Taylor.
yeah, I pointed out a bunch of places to them last Thursday, and they put in the chips. There's a little bit of stuff had gotten past the erosion control, which, when it dries out, we'll need to attack. And
seems like
it
the-
had been gullying, and
Yeah.
they fixed that, so they obviously need to,
Seems to me I saw the chips too along where the machine was packed.
yeah.
They had put wood chips along the roadway there too.
Yeah.
So we'll wait to talk about Cooper when Cooper gets here.
Yeah, they're coming in later.
Okay, can I go back, seeing as Anna's here, wanted to approve the minutes, but we're waiting for you.
Oh, okay.
We know better.
Actually, I don't have any comments on the minutes this time.
He
Oh,
waited?
no!
Sorry. Sorry I waited so long.
It would, believe me, it was worth the wait.
If there's no, any corrections or omissions, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as printed?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a note right now that the minutes of February 5th, whenever that was, whatever that one was, before, that was the one that Mr. Adema had said that I had his address wrong, but it's already approved. So I was talking to Diane about, they're already approved. She said, just make a note tonight, and it'll be in tonight's minutes.
That you're going to correct it?
No,
Oh.
I can't correct it, it's already approved.
Oh.
So you'd have to reopen the whole thing. So she said, just make a note that the address was wrong
Oh, okay.
in the future.
Okay. All right.
Do we have to do that actively? Or
We
is
just
that
did.
enough? Okay.
Same, 7:50, discussion, we're still early.
I'm here.
Is there anything else we need to take up?
3 minutes?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't start early because it's a posted meeting time, so
How about the update on?
That's why we're
490
kinda-
Oh, did you already?
we're not trying to
do-
drag your evening out.
Oh.
Did you already do the discussions then? Both?
None of the regulations, because we figured we'd wait till there's more people here.
Yeah.
Since Sarah and Julie, I meant not to, aren't going to be here tonight, so.
How about the 495 spill response?
The town did hire a third-party review, and we had a site walk last Thursday with them. So it's moving along, and there's someone watching, so even better.
Is there any evidence still that there's oil residue anywhere?
You can smell it when you're out there. And we went back, so they have to do, not monitoring wells, just some soil testing and stuff, where the spill was, and then it kind of cascades out how far they may or may not need to go from there. So I said, if you're just gonna be doing any sampling in the wetlands, let us know ahead of time, at least, and we can figure that out. But they'll be doing, most of the stuff is out of the buffer zone, where the spill was anyway.
Right.
And then they might start getting in the buffer zone, water quality sampling over at the wells, so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's supposed to get, 8 to 12 inches of snow again this
Wednesday.
Now that the frost is all out of the ground, it's
Yeah.
gonna be an issue.
We used about 2 more minutes.
Wow.
So the only other thing is, and I guess you should, well, never mind, I'll bring it up at the end of the meeting, under the Cloverdale stuff. When do you want to meet with the Board of Selectmen? Because right now, we're dead in the water on the Cloverdale stuff,
Until we meet with them.
because of the way it was stated. So I can, I'm talking to Heath about trying to get onto the agenda. He wants to know who's going to be there, and if there's information for the packet. For the Board of
Which meeting?
Selectmen. I'm not sure. We're actually off, amazingly enough.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so, I think it was gonna be I was looking at the 26th, because I've been having a hard time,
March or April?
March, hopefully.
I could probably be available. Anybody else be available?
Maybe.
All right, so why don't I confirm the date with him? I'll send an email around, see who can make it. I'll give him the information as such that we have. Because we really don't have, this is just getting moving here, so.
No, that's the 12th. Okay. So the 20th.
Okay. I guess we're,
And if there's anything else you want to talk to the Board of Selectmen about.
That's 7 o'clock.
I have, they start at 6:30, I have no idea when they
All right, so we'll put it in for 6.
schedule it for.
actually on time. Discussion, how will I have conservation restriction restoration? We got 51 Hartwell Forbes.
No, the first two were the ones who were here last time. I put them on in case they showed up. They right now are in the process of discussions with Natural Heritage about the whole CMP CR thing. Misty Ann Merrill at Natural Heritage basically said, which is going to be of interest to you guys, any request to revise the lines of the conservation restriction of the CR will need to get written approval from the CR holder, the town, and Natural Heritage, but they then need to submit that to the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs. They need to convince EEA that it meets the higher public purpose to revise the lines and offer compensation, generally in the form of additional land protection. The Executive Affairs will make the call, and if approved, then you have to seek legislative approval. Because that's how it got set up in the first place. It's got to go, and the Board of Selectmen need to be involved in this too.
Wow.
The
So
boundary
state-
change,
State
Yeah,
legislative.
it's a big
approval?
deal.
I think I would move the shed.
Yeah.
That would be my advice as counselor.
The boundary change to a CR needs legislative approval, like 2/3 vote from memory.
Wow.
This is not a simple or insignificant thing
That
to
is
get changed.
that is tedious.
That is good.
And it's, probably legal fees attached to it too, so.
Okay.
So they're working their way through that possibility. So I believe you have here 85B, the Allsops. And I think in your stuff I left in front of you is the original letter I sent to them and everybody, with a picture attached to it. Basically what they have behind their house is a hill, and I think the stake is circled that shows where the conservation restriction line is. There's another one off to the side, but there wasn't an issue back there. And then a little bit deeper in the package is a 2005 aerial and a 2014 or something, aerial. The problem is, since I have an extra, you can have that. The problem is, obviously, you can tell the property lines are wrong, 'cause the property line shows the pool half off the property line, which isn't, I'm assuming is not correct. I can't overlay the ground conditions on where the conservation restriction line is on that slope. So I'm not sure if that slope was always there, or if that slope got cut back when the pool was put in, which was before you guys bought it, right?
Yes.
So frankly, even for me, even if that slope was cut into the conservation restriction, I think it's not much you can do about it. I mean, other things you can restore and replace. And I believe the officers are willing to say that beyond the stake, that will be naturalized. Which it's kind of on its way there, but it's a really kind of sandy slope, so it's hard to get stuff growing in there. But I don't know if you wanted to,
I mean, the slope, I mean, we're not doing anything with it. I mean, it's either, we're letting it just grow wild, you know, or if we were ever to do anything, it would be just native plants that would be put in. I really, we don't even go back there. It's totally like, kind of off limits from even our property. It's there, and it's behind the pool, and there's like there's a fence even that's there, as you can see, I think, in the picture. It's taken, so.
I don't see any fence, but
It's down at the bottom of the slope, before the slope.
yeah, and I think that picture's before the pool. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we're up here. So you can see a bit of a fence there around the pool.
This is on the picture you took, Amy.
Yeah, I think if you look at the picture, it's attached to the letter.
could it be that picture is before the fence went in? Because it looks like they're maybe in the process of putting the pool in.
And I pulled those up really quickly tonight off the town GIS.
The
and
aerial shot?
The aerial
No,
shots,
The aerial shot, I think
The aerial
that's
shots,
before
they-
anything's built here, isn't it?
well, the next one that's the 2005. The aerial, of course, is dated 2014 to 2017, so they don't tell you the
No,
date of
there's
the aerial
definitely-
photograph.
The pool's there, there's definitely the fences there, you
Yeah.
probably just can't see it. It's
Yeah.
just
So is the issue on this one the slope?
Yes,
That's the issue, right, the slope?
Yeah.
Not the pool. The pool's on the outside of there.
the pool's well outside.
Despite-
And none of this is in the buffer zone either.
Despite the fact that the aerials show the pool out, beyond the CR line.
No, they show it
The shot of
behind the conservation, behind the property line, because it's an aerial photograph with lines attached to it. They're not, it's not a surveyed.
Right.
This
Right,
is a
so-
property line. The CR goes,
The CR doesn't follow the property line?
no, the CR is like this and this, I think.
Oh. Okay.
And
then
the stake you see,
Yeah, the stake is out beyond the pool, so.
Yes.
Okay, so that means it's not in the CR, this pool itself.
exactly.
As we
Yeah,
just
everything in
mentioned,
front
it's
of
just
the photograph is out of the CR. Everything behind that stake is in the CR. Print out pretty badly.
So technically, we can't restore the hill. And
Yeah, it's.
We don't even know what was there to begin with.
And there's never a baseline report done. I've tried to kind of recreate conditions with the aerial photographs and stuff from 2005. You can't tell what the hill looked like back there. So it may have been cut into in order to get a flat grade for the pool. It may not have. I'm guessing there's at least some loss of vegetation.
I had the cornfield way down and back, and I drove down the lane there, and I remember there were various places where Hartwell had taken gravel out of.
Yeah,
Areas.
you can see in the 2005 aerial photograph, there was open area in there. And as you go through, it gets
Yeah. So.
more grown up, and then the house comes in, so.
So.
Except for the fact that the grade may have changed, it seems to me that restoring the vegetation, which is kind of what they're gonna plan on doing
Yeah.
anyway, would serve to protect the conservation restriction and bring it all back into compliance.
I mean, do we need a letter from Fish and Wildlife to confirm that would be?
I will,
what they would be
this
looking
was copied to Natural Heritage. I think,
for? But it looks like it's to Fish and Wildlife, not,
it's-
but to Natural Heritage too?
yeah. Well, because they are Fish and Wildlife.
Well, I guess it depends on whether it's a
Well,
endangered.
Division of Fish and
Species,
Wildlife
right?
is who issues the permit, although it's the Natural Heritage Department within Fish and Wildlife that actually kind of manages the permits.
Okay, I thought there was different degrees, like it wouldn't, but this is
No,
a
because
vernal
otherwise
pool. This is
otherwise they
a-
wouldn't have issued a permit if there was an endangered species.
Okay.
They never have gone to, Glenn never would have gone to DFW in the first place.
So it's the spotted salmon, I assume, and
I forget.
whatever,
I think there were some turtles out there too.
protections to a large vernal pool.
Oh, yeah, it probably says in there. So frankly, I've got to admit, right now, I think Natural Heritage is a little distracted by what's going on down at 51 and 53, which is somewhat more egregious than what may or may not have happened here.
Yeah.
So I am guessing at this point that with this 85B, Natural Heritage might follow your lead. The only other way to do it is to require a survey of, that shows the topo and the CR lines on it, but that's still not going to get you what the topo used to be. And it's really hard to tell from the aerial photograph even what the vegetation used to be, if it, because
It depends on how this is connected, I would think, to the vernal pool, whether or not it changed the drainage to the vernal pool. I mean, if it didn't necessarily change that, I would think that the vegetation would be the more important thing.
yeah, the vernal pool, if you look at the, well,
Is
you
it
can
the
see
blue
you can see
area?
that, yeah, that's where the vernal pool is, is
Okay.
over there. And
So,
the cut slope is up in here.
yeah, so I would doubt, without seeing the other contours, though, it's kind of hard to tell. Maybe we should
But you don't know
take
what
a
the
look at the
contours
contour
were.
map. But we could sort of tell if it may have reduced flow
Yeah,
toward the.
Well, you can look at the
If the
USGS
flow is
maps.
this way, then it would have nothing to do with it, right? But
I would
yeah.
guess that all is in the, either isolated or in the watershed of the vernal pool.
yeah, let's check, definitely check.
I don't know if the
contour
USGS map's really going to say much, but
What's the soils there? You have any idea if it's gravelly?
it's kind of gravelly sandy, isn't it? This, yeah,
I mean, any
it's
water is not gonna,
going to,
yeah, it's going down.
Yeah.
It's not, wasn't traveling across.
yeah,
I mean, I never seen any water that's flowing across the
Yeah.
river.
If you see the last page, you can see a kind of at least a trough going into the.
right, there is, and
Either from or into.
right, but again, we're talking about,
Exactly,
This
so
one up
it's
there.
not, it's kind of, it's not, it seems to be associated with that area.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell from that, but it looks like it'd be downslope.
So you wanna just table this for now?
Um,
This particular
Well,
one?
well, I think you're probably looking for guidance of some sort. Does the commission agree at the very least that the vegetation should be restored in there? So maybe we can work on sort of a vegetation planning plan
Okay.
Of what-
Well, like, aside from it just being natural and wild,
and just let it grow.
I mean, that's how it is now. I mean, when the spring and summer, it's got, I don't know what kind of plants they are. You guys could
Yeah.
probably pick all that stuff out, but it's full of, various
Stuff.
plants.
It looks like it was historically forested. I'm just looking at the one aerial, the 2005 aerials.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard to
I
tell.
mean, it's not forested now, it's,
Yep.
so I would think that getting some maybe some small,
Something that salamanders would like to.
yeah.
hide in. Like, even just placing a fallen log over there too.
There are lots of fallen
Fallen
logs around.
logs. Just another ice
There
storm.
are lots of fallen logs.
I'm kind
I
of,
think it needs some kind of vegetation. It looks pretty denuded.
I'm kind of surprised there isn't a bunch of pine seedlings
It,
starting.
it seems, I think.
Sand, it's all sand, so you're not gonna get, right,
Yeah.
you might get pine growing on it. It's gonna be tough to get stuff growing on it.
How about a couple of rocks?
It's a
Sunken
fairly
rocks.
steep slope.
We do have, there are some rocks that are big rocks, even in small ones that are around. I mean, it's kind of rocky, it is rocky sandy.
Okay, that's good.
Can you see the picture? Yeah, it's actually not too, and again, this picture was taken, I'm pretty sure in December, right?
Yeah.
When we were out there.
But, you know, I'm happy letting, I'm not, you know, altering it or planting things that I just want to plant up there. I mean, it's either, right now it's just wild, and that was how I was planning on keeping it. And then if, you know,
Do you see
if I ever
any,
wanted to do anything different, it would only be.
do you see any pine seedlings at all coming up there?
Not on the slope, no. There are pine seedlings that are beyond the slope, though.
Yeah.
Around, you know, in the conservation area, there are
Yeah.
little seedlings.
I'm just kind of
I would think they'll
surprised. They
probably just
take
come
pretty
in all the
quick.
time, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
In other words, don't harvest them.
Best bet's just leave it as is.
Well, we could leave it as is and reassess it, I don't know, in July or August,
Yeah.
when the vegetation, and see what's, get a
Yeah.
better idea of what's going on
See
there,
what's
rather than trying to
going
look at
on.
it in December.
I think that's a good idea. Let's see what's going on and see if we need to have any additional plantings.
I mean, couldn't we get the advice of a vernal pool expert?
About,
Well, you have to
how
see
we
what
would
it-
restore that, if anything.
You have to see what the connection is. It might just be a distance from the,
Yeah, might be
It's
else.
very far from that.
Yeah.
It's not close at all. I mean, I would say it's probably maybe 1,000 yards,
oh,
800 yards
Mhm.
maybe.
So what would be the jurisdiction of the vernal pool?
what's that?
I said, what's the jurisdiction
Well,
of?
it's almost, it's getting close to it.
It's 100 feet.
How far would you say it is?
The habitat.
800
Yeah, but the greater habitat
Greater habitat?
is much larger.
How
like
it's connected?
2,000.
Yeah, it's behind.
It's like,
they can easily move half a mile to a mile.
I was gonna say, it's
Or not
probably,
easily, but
I was
they
thinking like
can.
2,000 feet,
Yeah, half a mile.
yeah.
So
So
he's
it's
try- if
definitely-
it's 1,000 yards would be 3,000 feet.
It's not that far.
Right.
Right.
That's plenty, I mean, that's close enough. We
Away.
should treat it as
So-
salamander habitat.
Well, I don't think salamanders are too thrilled with pine trees, which is,
Oh, so he said that there weren't very many
So
pine seedlings.
I would
Right.
I'd take it the board's position on this
Yeah.
is kind of sit on it and to check it out in
And s-
July or August.
Right.
and I will run that by Natural Heritage. What I'll do is I'll email her and copy you on it.
Yeah, just let them know that
And
we're.
and let them know that's,
right.
that's where we're headed with this
Right.
one for now.
And see if they have any recommendations
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
habitat.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
The last thing on my, at the bottom of my letter is the post that you see in the picture there. I'm just requesting if I can replace that with a permanent, you know, different type of stake that isn't such a massive eyesore in my backyard. Because I'm the only one that's certainly seeing it.
Is that a 4x4
Yep.
wood? What kind of post are you thinking?
Some kind of stake that's in the ground so that if you ever want to come back and see it and find it, there'll be something that's there.
Like, you mean a metal rebar or
Sure.
something?
Whatever works for you, that's not like right in the middle.
But
in the back of my
when
pool.
things grow up though, won't it kind of hide it?
I don't know if anything's, I don't think anything's necessarily growing up, 5 feet high above on the slope, going from the slope down
Again.
above.
I guess the only problem I have with something like that is if you wind up selling your property and then another person comes in.
The same thing all over again.
The idea behind this is for the people to see where the CR is.
Right.
That was,
Supposed to be
that was the
visible.
idea behind, it's supposed to be kind of visual. That was the idea behind
Yeah.
it.
So I guess you would,
But it is, well, except for the ones that are in the middle of the lawn. It is the most visible post from someone's house of that whole length.
Well, I mean, I don't mind if could you move it along that, could you move it along that CR line so it's a
That
place
one,
that's less visible?
the posts are either where the CR crosses a property line or where the CR takes a turn. So you really can't move it too much without starting to lose your reference point for it.
But it looks
I don't
like,
have the,
it looks like though, there's no turning point right near the pool, see? I mean, where the
well, you know, I
post
think
is right
if,
there.
no. The CR goes along this property line, and then there's a whole nother segment of CR down here, and they don't connect to each other. Is that right? Glenn, you don't have the CR map with you by any chance, do you?
yeah.
So if you look at the aerial photograph, the CR is back here, and that's where the post is, as
Yeah.
well as a piece here. It's like, I think, two separate, which happens in a couple places.
So would it be prudent to maybe, when you're out there checking out the
I think it's also maybe
vegetation?
possible just to make it shorter. Keep the sign on it, but, you know, have it
I
closer to
mean,
the ground.
I'm not moving anytime soon. I assure you. And if I ever were to, I mean, that would be something that'd be important to certainly tell somebody where the conservation line is. I'm not suggesting remove it. I'm just saying if it's possible, I know it's important, we gotta make sure that these things are marked. I would just ask that you would consider this, if this was your house in your backyard and you've lived there, and now all of a sudden you have this sign that's in your backyard on your back hill, right behind your pool. If there's anything that can be done, I'd appreciate it.
Why don't we leave it open until you go out and check the vegetation?
The only downside of that is, it'd be the same thing as the people at Cooper where they have a sign in their backyard that says conservation
But
easement.
they
or
bought
whatever.
it like that.
What's that?
They bought it like that. Of course, you
Right.
should have bought it like that too, but.
But it's the same thing, and I don't want
Oh,
to.
yeah.
I don't want to set
Yeah.
a precedent for moving signs, because we're going to start having a lot of them in people's backyards.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not suggesting to move it, just to replace it with something that's less visible. As certainly, I think you would agree that the sign is to let the owners know of the property where the conservation line is.
Yeah, that's.
I know exactly where it is,
Yeah.
and I'm not.
That definitely is the reason.
So you're thinking like a metal stake of some kind? Seems.
Well, but I mean, is there, for this particular sign, is a label on it too?
Yes.
I guess the question is, can we affix a label onto a metal, it's gonna be harder, a metal stake.
Is that a requirement that you have a label?
Yes.
I think so, it has to say conservation.
I'm sure I could get something to attach to, I don't see why that would be impossible.
I don't think we need to make that decision tonight.
Well, that's what
So-
I was
so
thinking.
maybe if you can think about literally how you would attach it to a piece of rebar and the sign, and, you know, maybe bolt it in or whatever, sketch something up or make something up, and then if it sounds right, when we go back and look at the vegetation in July, August, we can take a look at it, see how the vegetation's doing,
Huh.
see if maybe it can be moved.
Well, the thing is, if we ask them to do a planting plan, then the sign will be surrounded by plants. You wouldn't see.
I probably know when I get out there in July, it's gonna be covered in
You won't
poison ivy.
necessarily see it.
Yeah. Although, it's only behind it that's supposed to be planted, right? Not in front of it. So, 'cause it's
Put a
the-
blueberry
it's the
bush
edge.
next to it.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want it to, be obliterated, that's for sure.
Well,
It'll-
it's there.
Obscured, I should say.
Theoretically, going forward, I'll be out there once a year walking this line. So it'll become a little more institutionalized, or I'll become more institutionalized, whichever happens first.
The latter.
Yeah, it could be.
Why don't you see if we can see what you can work up or what have you, but that's basically, it's gotta be staked, so people know that.
I would, because that is the other possibility, is just leave the stake where it is as it is with a sign and put a couple bushes around it. So that when someone goes out, they can see, they can find it, but it won't be as visible from your house, so
Yeah.
you can think about that too.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. I'd be 100% supportive of that.
Then you go up the hill and pick blueberries, so, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Blueberry bush is perfect.
Yeah, high bush.
So you want me to come back in July or August, is that?
Well,
I
somebody's
will put it
gonna
on my
come out
calendar
anyway.
and I'll contact you, and we can deal with it then.
Okay.
Or if it's, you know, literally offending you right now and you want to plant a blueberry bush in May or something, or a couple bushes around it in May, that's the other possibility.
Okay.
That sound right?
Okay.
Okay.
SVT, have any suggestions? No, I won't throw you on the bus.
Flower.
Okay.
I'll bring over a six-pack and take a look.
When the pool's
We'll-
open.
Yeah.
Let's, we gotta move on to Mr. Petterino, who's discussion of enforcement order. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Phil Pittarino, 65 Hartwell Ave.
So you'll see I've got the site walk pictures, I think I left those in front of you too. So there's sort of two different issues here. One is that the house was originally approved as a request for termination applicability because it was, in the 75 to 100 foot buffer zone. It was, the
Yeah,
grading for the
barely
septic
into the
system
100.
was fairly far out.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, and let me know if I'm misrepresenting this all, the erosion controls and the grading went into the CR. And then there's also been erosion, which has gotten past the erosion controls.
Yeah, so originally the erosion control was close to the CR line, but we had that heavy rain, it blew it over, and I put up a new sill fence behind that, which pushed me out. And then in that first rain, we had that sill get by, so I put up new sill fence down below, and that got me in trouble there. And then I put some stump grindings like 3 weeks ago to help stabilize it. And then before last rainstorm, last Friday, I put up an initial, it's not on the picture, I put some more sill fence in front of that just to help protect it from eroding any further. I walked out to see what's gone beyond that second row of sill fence, and it's not terrible, but it's not good, so I plan on going in there with some 5-gallon buckets and shovels and cleaning it up. And then that slope, pulling it back on the conservation restriction line and stabilizing it. I plan on doing wildflower on that slope. Maybe some boulders at the bottom, so it's not so steep.
So if you're taking have all the fill material come out that went in
Yes.
to the wetland area?
Yes.
That's all been removed?
No, I'm not allowed to do that. Well, to my understanding, I'm not allowed to do anything until I came here, so.
I think you guys certainly need,
So the plan is to go in there by hand and clean it out, and then from the sill fence back, pull that back with the machine, back to the existing loom, and get it stabilized, but, the weather. This all happened in winter, so I couldn't correct it, so I just kind of got it so it wouldn't get any worse. And, as soon as, April comes, I think we can, well, if the weather stays like it is, we'll get snow Wednesday, but if it stayed like it was, end of March, we could have probably got it done.
I guess I would hand pull as much of that fill material out, don't you think?
oh, yeah.
You can,
Certainly all the stuff that's outside of the erosion controls, which is fairly extensive. It ranges from deep to, just a skim, obviously, is it?
Yeah, that was my next question. What is, I'm making all the heavy stuff, and, what, is there a thickness that you want me to go to without you know, causing.
There's some
more-
very well-trained guys over.
I was gonna say that-
Exactly. I think you're one of them.
No, I wasn't out there.
Consult with
My
the
guys
fields,
were-
they're professionals at it.
I'll be here for that too later on.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just want to talk with you guys to see what, how far you want me to go, but I'll do.
So you did,
Whatever-
you
whatever
issued
you
the
want.
enforcement order, it was just last week on this, so he'd be working under enforcement order going forward.
Okay.
So I don't know how much you want.
I would think we have precedence, so we just use the same rules as we did at Cooper. in terms of how much to clean.
Which included hiring somebody to assess how far it went and flag it and oversee the
Yeah.
removal. So it was a,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's very
So we need to
important.
we need to get somebody to, before I start cleaning it up.
Yeah. That was huge help to those
Yeah.
guys. Yeah. Because then they monitored it and they reported back to us, and
Okay.
that's having that third party is very helpful.
Okay. Can do that.
And they used a bunch of different techniques. I mean, they were able to, because of the way it's sat on the leaves, they were able just to almost like hand pull all the leaves, and
they had the
it was
vacuum
just-
truck out there.
They had a vacuum truck out
Yeah,
there.
the
They
back
did-
truck, because I couldn't reach, but I can reach everything. It's not, we're talking like 50 feet from the silt fence, so it's not that far in.
They actually, yeah, they hired a bunch of local kids and went to
My,
town.
some of my guys were there, so I wasn't there, but my guys were, so.
But do you
just
feel
got-
that it's stable enough before the storm on Wednesday to withstand?
Yeah, I put another row of silt fence up in front at that whole bottom area that was bad, and it didn't get up on that silt fence.
Because it had, I can't remember if it was in these pictures, now it had knocked over.
Right, I was on vacation when
At
I
one
came,
point,
I saw
yeah.
the picture, when I came home, I fixed that section. And
Just
put a
climbing
row-
up over the bark
And
mulch.
I put another row up in front of it before the heavy rain we had, just 'cause I was worried about it. But I didn't go in and clean it up. Because of the enforcement order I was waiting to hear.
Is there any way to stabilize that slope? It's still raw and open?
I'm landscaping my yard as soon as the weather breaks, so that's the first I'll get screen loom, and I'm gonna pull that slope back, like I said, maybe put some boulders in the bottom.
What about jute netting, something to prevent, because it really looks like it's gonna do the same thing.
Well, it's been exposed for, now a year and a half since I moved in.
Which is
So-
why I probably did this.
Well, it just keeps getting worse, so once I get the loom, and April's a good growing season, I'll get it seeded.
But I mean,
That should-
before the storm, can you do something that will stabilize that slope
The snowstorm?
Mm.
before Wednesday?
Another nor'easter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's snow, so I'm not so
Nor'easter.
worried about it as much as the rain, but last, we had 3 inches of rain, and it didn't.
Yeah, but it's no guarantee this is gonna be snow, this could be rain too.
Or
Yeah, but, I
change.
mean, nothing got by. You can come see the silt fence I put up in front, you can see it didn't build up or knock it over, so. I got, 2 layers of silt fence and the mulch there, so.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Flowable. It looks like lava
Yeah.
coming down on some of
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's,
It's like a
when I saw the
mudslide.
pictures, that wasn't like that when I left, so.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what made me get worried and put that second row up, so.
Yeah, and I went back out, I'm losing track of my dates, after the rainstorm to see if that ton of mud had moved.
Yeah.
And it was hard to tell if it moved or not, so it certainly wasn't terrible, but, or still moving, put it that way.
I don't know, it just looks like there's some, more you could do.
Even
Stabilize
maybe
it.
something like breaking up some straw bales
Yeah,
and covering up, because
Covering
if it
it.
is just snow, it's just gonna melt and just totally saturate that hill.
right. And you're gonna get more sliding. Can you
Sounds
do
like-
that?
Yeah, I think
Hay bales?
it's in your best interest to do that, because it's just gonna potentially either do it again or,
So you want to get some hay bales and break them up and just throw them on the slope?
Yeah, and more of these, I think that's,
That was just for them to keep the frost out, that's all that was there for.
that also keeps the hay there, which would help, and maybe you could do that with the hay bales. You spread it, just put logs.
No, it's the 4x4 posted.
Yeah,
Put it on the ground.
the surveys had done that just so they'd be able to get the post in if they needed to.
And
That's the
It's
post,
stable.
that's the post that
that's going
eventually,
in.
it's just happened to be on top of it.
Oh, that's good. But still, I think that, because it's gonna overwhelm your silt fence again, if more comes down, and right in that area, it looks like it's really vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, we had 3 inches of rain, and I don't think we're gonna be getting 3 inches of rain again.
Well, you can't
Um,
say that because
I
we've
know,
had-
but we've
you
had
know,
a couple, but
It
it's.
doesn't matter because you got to be prepared. It's
Yeah.
like we told the Cooper people.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be prepared for anything.
Well, that's why I
I
put
mean,
the-
and the 3-inch storm is becoming common. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, I put that second row up if you want to see that it didn't get built up on it, and I think a lot of the fines are out of that hill now, so it's, there's not much more to wash out. There's a lot of stone left in that hill now, if you look at it.
Well, if you don't do anything or try to, you're gonna end up cleaning more of
It'd
it.
be, yeah, it'd be on me to clean
Yeah.
that more, which I don't want to be out there shoveling.
So, I mean,
This
it's-
one, I will be out there myself, so I'm
And
confident
it
that.
gets, it's, some of this is going as far as the trail that's back there.
Yes.
That the horses have been through and mucking it up, so it's kind of a mess back there.
I'm confident that it's not going to go out.
We've heard that
He has to
before.
clean it up. Well,
Yeah.
bottom line, he's gonna have to clean it up.
Well,
Yeah,
we still
we're
don't know,
just
we don't want it
suggesting-
to happen. We want to be
It's his
preventative.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the 100, we're talking about the 100-foot buffer, 100 to 50-foot
But
buffer.
I understand you could clean it up, but once it happens, even if you clean up the best you can, you've got a lot of residual there, and we want to prevent it from happening, not happen and have to have you clean it up. That's
I'm with
the
you 100%.
best.
I'm with you 100%.
So-
I can put some hay down, but, I mean, to hay that whole hill, you're talking, I think it's a lot of wasted money. I don't think it's gonna do anything. The hay's, I don't think it's gonna do enough to, enough for the cost of doing it. I think what I have up, the 2 rows is so
It's
fantastic.
his choice. If he doesn't want to do it, it's fine.
Yeah.
He just has to.
If you
clean it
guys
up.
wanna make me do it, obviously do it, but I don't think that it's necessary.
Well, he's under enforcement order,
If I thought that it was gonna go, have a chance of going over, I would, do something else, but I don't. I'm confident after having all that rain, it's not gonna get by.
Is anything into the CR? There is. That's
Yes.
So that second
So
row.
that's another issue.
Yes.
You can see in one of the pictures where the orange flag, green flag, whatever it is where the
green.
CR is.
right?
That's the corner of,
A lot of it's. about
So,
half
so
of
the
it's
grading and
within the-
erosion is in the CR, and then you got the silt fence in the CR, and then you got stuff beyond the silt fence, which is all in the CR, so. And maybe off your property.
So that's another whole issue.
Right, so this is why there's kind of, but I think, pulling in the toe slope and getting rid of all the erosion is going to restore the CR. And I think part of what this mitigation person should look at is also if any restoration is needed after the cleanup, if there's any vegetation that needs to be replaced.
So the first thing you have to do is hire somebody.
yep. Were you happy with Cooper's guy? Want me to hire him? Does it matter?
Well, we can't recommend anybody, but
I can't recommend anybody. I mean,
I'll talk to my I'll talk to
they
my.
seem to be attentive. So you can, yeah.
Yeah, or Nick Pasadola may know someone too.
So hire somebody, you want it on a plan?
What?
Do you want the,
I think he probably would
Where-
need to get some sort of plan, sketch in how far the erosion control, the sediment has gone,
okay.
and then maybe even like a construction, sequence type something.
And once that plan's done, come into you guys before I start cleaning it up?
Yes.
Yeah, you wanna
Yes.
see all this, yeah.
Yeah.
The next meeting's the 19th, I don't know if you can do it by then or not.
I'll try, I'll get on
Let
it.
me know.
I didn't have time last week.
Yeah.
It was a short week, so I'll make some calls. We'll get right on it.
If you think it's gonna go, don't hesitate to put the hay and straw.
Or some more silt fence, another,
Yeah, I would
halfway
just
up or
keep an eye, I
something.
mean, if you're not gonna do anything, I would go out there during the storm and I would keep an eye on it and be prepared to do something.
Kinda late by the time you get a storm.
Well, I don't know what else, other advice.
I mean, if,
I mean, that's the,
yeah. Throw a half a dozen bales of hay or something on it and spread them out, and
It's not that expensive.
you haven't bought hay lately.
Well, demand for it right now.
Strong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's your homework, and,
Be back the 19th.
yeah.
That's yours.
But don't be afraid to stabilize it.
Yeah, I mean.
I mean, you see,
I would have
exactly,
been,
yeah.
the weather, if we didn't get the snow, I know, I could have been starting that slow, but just everything's,
It's not over yet.
I know.
We still, we got March to get through.
yeah,
Thank you.
February was nice. March, it's gonna be something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Running a little late. Request for land use permit, Sudbury Valley trustee proposal to use land, YAP conservation land for National Trails Day. Somebody want to speak to that?
Sure. I'm Michael Sanders. I'm the Director of Membership at Sudbury Valley Trustees. We have hosted a National Trails Day event this 6 years previous, so this will be our 7th year. And this year we were speaking with the town, with the Littleton Conservation Trust and the town of Littleton to have our event take place at the Yap Conservation Land. We've liked to move it around. We've had it first couple of years in Sudbury, then the next year, a couple of years in Framingham, a year in Wayland, went back to Framingham, and felt like it was always the type of event we felt like was something we wanted to move around, and being that we're an organization that works in 36 different communities across our service area. So it's been, what the event has been previously has been walks in the morning, the distance being either a 10K, a 6K, or a 3K. We stagger the start time so that everybody finishes at the same time, when everyone finishes at noon. And when they get back at noon, there's barbecue, live music, fun and games, entertainment for kids, things on that idea. And we think that the Yap Conservation Land has enough trail space to have 10K, 6K, 3K walks, and certainly enough space within the field to host a nice gathering. We've had about 100 people show up each of the last 4 or 5 years or so. First couple of years were slow, but the last few years we've had right around 100 people come.
Do you charge for it?
We do. It's a SVT members. So this is a flyer that we did for last year. You can take those.
What time of year?
June 2nd. First Saturday in June.
That's if you're thinking about the field, that's kind of late for someone who's got a hay crop established there.
We're gonna be in there already.
Huh?
We're gonna be in there the week before for another event. So that's gonna have to get worked out.
2 weeks before that is the Hidden Treasure event, which actually I guess you're a co-sponsor of. Historical Society is, Conservation Trust is. So there'll be people using the field there.
Yeah, but you could have a hay crop probably up a foot by then there.
And it may get mowed. In prep, I mean, you may have to lose that particular cutting.
So you're gonna park in what's labeled as the parking area here, and then have additional parking up in the field?
Ideally, the parking would be all along the fence line. I think it was a fence line, and then along the borders, and then the event itself, the party itself, out in the open space in the center.
So you're gonna be parking outside of the normal parking areas?
Just because with 100 people, we expect 40 to 50 cars, and so just having enough space to, when we viewed it a few months ago, we felt like there would be sufficient amount of space to have the parking.
Yeah.
You've done
I
that
think the way you've
before?
done it here,
Yes,
Michael,
when we did it
it's-
at Mainstone Farm, we parked on the field at Mainstone. When we did it at that was Mainstone Farm in Wayland, and last year we had it, our host site was the Quaker Meeting House in Framingham, and they even had they had a field that they didn't want us to park in, and so we parked along their grass field.
Well, I would suggest somebody talk to the individual that's been mowing it and ask him not to fertilize it, so he isn't losing his money. Because it would have been fertilized probably mid-April, I would assume. They'd be going in.
How wet is it there, too?
He may still want to do that for the second cone. I shouldn't be the one to talk to him.
Why, you afraid of him?
No, he told me to lose his number.
But he still give you permission to park there? Do we have the right to say no?
It's up to you guys, yeah.
It's conservation land.
It's conservation land,
Sure.
But he's leasing it or not? For hay?
I,
I don't think he has a lease, I think he just hays it.
Yeah.
well, Calvin's the one that was the land steward there, so I don't know what the arrangements were between him.
I am too. I'm the land steward there, but I don't think he pays anything for.
No, but it costs money to go into mow stuff, too.
Yep.
So we need to take that into consideration. I guess it's up to the board. What do you folks feel about it?
I don't know how wet it is there. It was right next to where the Morrison land.
I think
Isn't that
this,
very
I don't,
wet there?
I don't think this is correctly drawn. I think it's, the actual opening is much smaller than what you're looking at.
Yeah, because this
This is
is
a
the
wet
low
area
parking
down
with the
here.
Okay.
I
garage.
think you're
I know when
you're
we
just up
visited,
here.
Here, too.
when we visited,
Yeah.
it felt like parking
But
was
this
all going to
isn't
be
high.
getting-
along Newtown Road,
Morrison
Mhm.
land.
and then it would turn in.
Yeah.
See, this is,
It's not
yeah, this is
one.
not ours, so, it's probably, these trails, this is the only open area right here. So you'd be parking around the edges of that, probably.
Yes.
It's somewhere near where the garden is, then.
Yep.
Community garden.
Yeah, but on this side of the wall, though, yeah, you wouldn't even be in here.
It felt like the space along Newtown Road, the
Mhm.
majority of it would fit there, and then if we had to, we would turn some
Yeah.
cars in, depending upon how many people are coming.
There's a lot of ledge rock there anyway. It wouldn't be much of an issue there. My only concern is the hayfield. You're expecting somebody to maintain it, take care of it for you.
Yeah, well, I think the event is the when's the event, the first event?
First event's the 19th, May 19th.
May
So it's
19th,
2
which is
weeks
basically a
before
little
this.
early for a first cutting, but if you wanted to do a,
It's too early.
It's too
And,
early.
well, a lot of it's gonna depend. If it
Depends what
stays
the
like
weather-
February,
Right.
you could easily have a first cutting by the end of May.
yeah, yeah.
We were really, I mean, the event itself, we're really thinking is that open field before you head out into the wooded part of the trails, and just have
Well,
it,
that's,
yeah.
I would suggest you have somewhat of a conversation with that individual. But I think as far as we're concerned, the board, we can decide whether we want to allow it to happen or not.
I think it'd be fine. We should definitely ask, though, about the hay.
I think it's a fun event and brings people to the conservation land, which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
I think, Jim, for this particular, this is coming 2 weeks after the Hidden Treasure event, so those issues about the hayfield will
Well, I'm
already
just-
have come up. But I think we should talk, but maybe you should be talking more to the Historical Society and the rest of this committee that's sponsoring that.
And when we ran Trail Fest in Wayland and in Framingham, we worked a lot with the landowners to make sure that the area that we were having our festival didn't affect their regular, especially at Mainstone Farm in Wayland, where we were making sure that it didn't affect their day-to-day operations, and we had, regular communication with their staff and their volunteers.
I'm just saying, I think it's mandatory that you at least run it by him. So he's aware of it. It's not a surprise when he shows up to do something with it.
Sure, I think probably,
On May 19th.
Amy, I think you might be the best person to just give him a call and let him know what's
Okay, yeah, I'm not
happening.
sure I have his contact information. I want you.
I've lost his number.
Good man.
Request.
978-486-4141.
Okay.
That's right.
And don't get me in the middle of it.
Say, Jim gave me.
Regarding your question about fees, yes, we do charge for this event. We felt this is much more than just people walking on a trail. We have many walks on our trails where we host leader walks and on our properties, which are free for SVT members and a guided walk. But in this case, there is. We have, live music, there's food and beverage, there's entertainment, there's a lot of, the expense line goes, not crazy high, but, that we have we put in a fair amount of expenses into this and think that by the end of it, when people come back, now they're being fed and they're being entertained, and we felt like the fee, which was, I think is pretty nominal, at least for, in the past, we've had it just as SVT members, $5 per person, a maximum of $10 per family, and this year that we're looking to partner with the town of Littleton and the Littleton Conservation Trust, where we're going to create a partnership, and maybe that would then include residents of the town of Littleton, members of the Littleton Conservation Trust, or we could certainly figure out some of those, but it's, the fees from the attendees isn't necessarily, it's not covering our costs, but we just figure that, the amount of entertainment that they're getting over the course of the day is something that we felt like it was worthwhile to charge, and there hasn't been any pushback. We've had, when we've done it in Framingham, it also went into the trails in Marlboro, so DCR for Callahan State Park gave us approval. I have a copy of their approval letter from us. In 2000, that was from 2015. In 2017, they told me, you're all set, you don't need to fill out any more permits for this. The city of Marlboro just said, sounds great, have a good time. And the town of Wayland was pretty much the same thing. They just said, we were working in conjunction with Wayland, and they were thrilled to have the event and had no concerns about it. So if there was concerns, we certainly would address that, but we have not had any previously.
Do people bring a lot of dogs with them?
No, we did not allow dogs at this event. We felt that a big public event such as this, dogs could overrun the situation, so we were not allowing dogs at this program.
There may in fact be dogs mingling because people will be still using this land for walking their dogs.
Absolutely.
covering it,
I
so.
guess maybe you'll have to fill out one of the town permit. The other thing is, I think I'd like a motion from the board I think we need to vote on this, whether we're going to approve this or not.
And you also said that he can provide a certificate of insurance, so
Oh,
we'll have
excellent.
that also.
SVT can provide a one-day certificate of insurance.
Yeah, because
Done that.
you've got grills, is it the gas grills or wood grills?
We've rented a gas grill from Sudbury Taylor Rental.
Okay.
We would do that again. We would get porta potties for people who need the restroom. And I've gotten gas grills. We've also gotten some charcoal grills before too.
So does the fire department have to?
They're all involved, but should be on.
Yeah,
the-
I'll-
Wayland,
I told, like, once, and if you guys approve this, that I'd be the runner on getting the police and fire signatures on this, so that they're aware of it.
Wayland Fire Department was involved, and when we were in Framingham, the police and fire didn't feel they needed to be part of it.
Well, Littleton's a little different.
Well, and Wayland required it, and so what they did actually, Wayland, is they brought a fire truck and had that as part of the entertainment. Kids would run around and play with the fire department.
We got to move along, so I need to bring this to a vote.
So I'll make a motion for the commission to issue a land use permit to SVT for Trail Fest on
Saturday, June 2.
Saturday, June
Second.
2nd.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Could it just raise the issue, you're right about the wetness by the kiosk, because somewhat damp and rutted. I know when we looked at, Jim looked at, he had suggested that there should be some sort of stone or whatever to give some firmness there.
For the parking?
Yeah, for the parking.
Trying to improve the law.
And I know talking to Kelly Gap, at the hidden treasure stuff, he thought, some stone there, like $1,000 worth of gravel might.
And who's going to pay for it?
Well, it's town property.
It-
And so, I don't know who pays for the town property, but nonetheless, it's upkeep.
Well, we'd have to see where it was gonna be applied.
Where the kiosk is, where it's rutted and muddy.
We've been dealing with mud
Right,
there
where the
ever
parking-
since.
Yeah.
The parking
You
area is
purchased the
already.
land.
As you
Yeah.
enter, it's
But
this
it's-
type of broken gravel stone that
It's
is
stone
the
dust.
entryway, probably more of this. I mean, it's, I was there.
I
today.
guess we'd-
Those are
If
grindings.
it was
Regular
good.
maintenance of a parking area, I wouldn't have any problem.
Well, it's muddy and rutted now, I mean, you could look at it.
Sometime soon we have to do it, and it'd be nice to do it
Like
before this
Keystone.
event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
before the hidden treasure event, too.
Yeah.
Is it something that needs to be dug out so you got a good base?
It's really, we have to add foot or more to get it
I
to
guess I
drain.
would leave that up to the highway engineer.
Well,
we've talked to him and-
It's gonna come out of your budget, so, or your fund, the Oak Hill Fund.
Maybe we should get an estimate and see.
So,
Yeah, let's see what
to stabilize it before all those people.
Well, it was,
Let's find out
The highway department said it would be $10,000.
They wanted
And they
to
couldn't do it
advance
until the
here.
fall.
And
But
then
we were
Cal Gap
thinking
said
that we
no,
could do it
just
for
needs
much
some
less, possibly, if we can.
Would they allow you to do it yourselves?
It's you guys that would allow them to do it
You would
themselves.
be doing it, yeah.
Why would the highway department be involved?
Because they have some knowledge.
Because they have
We
trucks all
might be able
over.
to do it cheaper.
Because they got the equipment.
They had the equipment, they did Oak Hill,
And
but
so in
in this
my-
case, it may just be dumping it, and Cal might be able to help with his equipment and just smoothing it out. But
Yeah, we asked Cal Yap, since, he knows the land well, And he said, well, only $1,000 worth of broken stone would probably take care of it. He's done that before, I guess, elsewhere on the property.
I would go to aggregate and get a donation.
Yeah, and
They
make sure
try.
it's,
Dead serious.
I can try, no, I've gotten,
yeah, and make sure it's
I've
small
gotten stuff
They
gravel,
operate,
that's not
they operate in that
large
town. and-
chunks.
Yep.
If it's a foot you're adding, does it need any
I've been-
like
I was supposed to.
prevention of it wandering off?
No,
Area?
It's a bowl right now, so.
Yeah. I mean, drive by and look at it.
Okay. All right, so it's only
Actually,
a foot,
probably
a
some
foot.
inch stone and then some pea stone on top of it
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 would be
One-
the appropriate way of doing it.
Yeah, people are using land more and more, it's a great
Well,
asset.
let's-
Do we need to make a motion to approve?
I think we need to get an estimate. a
And
little
show
bit.
where
He's
they're
gonna go to aggregate, ask, then we'll get an
like
estimate
a plan.
Yeah,
plan.
Okay.
and actually how much they're actually gonna do. We don't need a major parking lot, sounds like a filling in a
No,
mud
it's
hole.
just mostly feeling to get it to drain
Yeah, it's just the
away.
ruts of the mud.
If
Okay,
it's- well,
There was-
So, yeah, an estimate of how much, so how are funds for that sort of thing? How mu- how
I'd
much?
have to check what's left in
we
the
gotta,
hotel.
let's look into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can bring it up to the next meeting.
And you just point out,
Okay.
that Sunbright Valley trustees actually wrote the grant and brought $500,000 for
Yeah.
purchasing this. So,
Uh,
they've
I
been
guess
helpful.
you've got the permit.
Thank you.
Take care of it.
Thank
We've
you.
gotta move along with our
We
meeting.
will. Thank you.
Jim,
Okay.
I think what Don was going to get at, they did get the grant that got us this, and they hold a conservation restriction on the property, and we have no recognition sign on the big sign, and maybe we could also, Michael, is there a chance of getting a small sign that we could?
Do you have I guess the
SVT.
theme as you've gotten involved with, do you have a problem with us doing something to improve it?
I don't, I'd have to look at the terms of the CR and we'll talk to my stewardship,
Yeah,
talk to our
and-
stewardship department, but I would happily bring that up to my coworkers and they'll review it and let me know if there's any issues.
Yeah, Laura thought it was okay when we mentioned it before.
Okay,
I defer to Laura Matei's expertise on that.
Yeah,
Very good, thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
great, thank you.
yep.
But before you guys go away, do you want a land use permit application for the hidden treasures?
Oh, yeah, we should probably get one.
All those in favor?
Do we have a motion to that
That you
effect?
do the paperwork first? If you know the form.
Make a
I
motion
mean, I
on
think
it.
he needs to do paperwork first.
I think we have to put the paperwork in
You
first.
guys did this last year for the hidden treasures.
He needs to apply
It's
for
a
it.
one-page form.
Prove it.
Get it to
No,
me,
but-
I can bring it on the 19th.
It's in May, so we can do it at the next meeting.
Yeah, yeah. You're trying to get out of a lot of work here, Rick.
Okay, request of a land use permit, Littleton Park and Rec, Community for Education, proposal to use of Oak Hill for a 10K trail run. Who wants to speak to that one?
5K, it'll be a 5K. Yeah, also on National Trails Day weekend, it's Sunday at Oak Hill. Got approval from the fire department and the police department already. Gonna be on Oak Hill Trail. We got parking at the Pepsi plant there, Old Very Fine. We'll provide our own bathroom facilities. And that's it, be 2 to 5, between 2 and 5 p.m. on Sunday, June 3rd.
Oh, June 3rd.
Sounds good.
Day after the trail day, okay.
Yes.
Anybody got any objections or
No.
questions?
How much do you charge for this?
Yeah, $25 beforehand, $30 after, day of. It is a fundraiser, I forgot to mention, for the high school track and field team, so we're in conjunction with Mark Saucier on this.
And I'm sure you guys will be marking like the big rocks and stuff so people don't trip, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Marking how?
When-
Not spray
when-
paint.
Oh, no.
When would it take place?
It's June 3rd, between 2 and 5 p.m. on Sunday.
Is there anything nesting during that time period? That'd be my
There's always something nesting.
question.
Well, are they going through the woods or going?
If they're it's in the
We're
woods.
using this
If they
trail
stay in
here,
on the trails,
the yellow
you
trail.
got the people running it
100%
anyway.
wood.
Oh,
Yeah.
wood?
Well, it's Oak Hill,
Yeah,
so.
but it's not a large
It's just the
group
bet,
of
the
people.
permit's on that side, so I need it
Well,
back,
I
sorry.
walk there on the
I wouldn't think
weekends.
there's any-
It's gonna be
anybody
double.
nesting.
Huh?
And trail that the
And they'll be
Harvard.
double.
Yes.
Any
See,
birds
should have asked
nest
that
in the
question, yeah.
ground in a woodsy area? Is that the most?
Wood-
Not in the trails, I mean, oven birds and stuff will be on the ground, but they won't be on the trails.
I think it's okay.
Sounds good.
Um,
Somebody want to make a...
Are you gonna-
Where people gonna park?
At the
Very-
Pepsi,
very
Pepsi
fine.
plant, very fine plant.
Plenty of parking there, and then they,
Wait, where on this is the Pepsi? It's not the parking lot then? It's somewhere
No,
else?
it's not on here.
It's like Harvard Road.
Yeah, it's-
Very fine.
Very fine.
It's down over here in this area here.
Yep, I know where that is. And they're gonna walk.
Yeah. Or walk.
so is there an event afterwards?
No,
Where would that be?
there is no event afterwards.
Or before.
No.
So it's just the run and that's it?
Yes.
Porta potties?
Yes.
Down by the
We'll
parking, I
provide it.
assume?
I'm not sure where, Tim's kind of the point man on this, I'm not sure he's gonna put them. I
check
can't
with
answer
him.
that for him.
Yep.
Any anticipation, how many people?
Between 50 and 100 is what he is estimating. It's on the, we do have the sort of the permit, 50 and 150. He kind of had the permit already kind of filled out, everything except for you guys' approval.
So,
And is there any, as far as charging on conservation land property, the reason I was asking, are they charging, I don't know if there's, do we have any?
We brought that up before because there was somebody else wanted to charge to do fitness thing on it
It
too.
was those guys. It was Park and Rec for the
So-
cross-country skiing.
So have we come to any decision on that, or is there anything in our?
Or did we get a cut?
do we
Well-
get cuts?
I don't know. I don't know if,
Well, in this particular
There-
case,
there-
all the money
there-
goes to the high school track
Yeah,
and field.
there are no, I mean, bylaw on this right now, and I've been asking around and checking with other towns, and, you know, SVT says it has an issue, MACC, you know, certainly a lot of Park and Rec, community ed type things run events on conservation land, and they charge for it. Guided walks, bird watching, you know,
they charge
potentially
to go.
cross-country skiing runs, they charge fees for it,
Yeah, and they charge Long Lake for a parking permit to go to the swimming.
yes. Yeah.
Right.
So it's nothing new.
So you know, it's all tied up in the Article 97 lands and stuff, a whole, I don't necessarily want to go down. But I think in particular, as long as it's something that is in agreement, if you will, with the land use, such as it's being used because it's a trail or for nature observations or, you know, something along those lines, you know, you wouldn't want to have a rock and roll fest just because.
Yeah.
But if it's in accordance with the reason why the property
Right.
is conservation land, and the event would not necessarily be excluding other people from using the open space, then, from what I've seen, I'm not a lawyer, you know, it's acceptable.
Should we consult council?
I'm trying.
Okay. That's in the process.
So maybe next time we'll have a,
So the only other question I'd have is if the general public is using the trail on that, or should it be closed during that time period?
So, over at the Prouty Woods, they do track practice, not track, cross-country practice. Occasionally, there's signs put up warning the public that they'll be doing it on this particular date and
Beforehand.
time. Yeah, beforehand. So we could do the same thing for.
I think I would
Oak Hill.
recommend that, just so people aren't
They
caught unaware. 'cause
Posted
they-
at the kiosk.
I mean, if you have an older person on the trail and then all of a sudden like a runner comes by and, you know,
Yeah.
push, hey, get out of my way, I'm in first place, you know.
We can do that.
yeah, and stay right for a long time. So what do you think, like maybe a week ahead of time, or?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
So
On the
some-
kiosk?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
maybe
maybe at
on
the
the
other-
main kiosk, the one over on Harvard, which doesn't have a kiosk, but you get some kind of sign in there,
Yeah,
Those are the two,
each entrance, maybe
Yeah.
we could stick one, because it'll be the yellow trail.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to allow this?
I'd like to make a motion to allow the use, or allow the land use permit for Littleton Parks Recreation and Community Education for the proposed use of Oak Hill for the 10K trail run on June 3rd from 2 to 5, with the caveat that it be posted 1 week prior, that the event is occurring, and where it is occurring, like which paths you're going to be using on the kiosk at each entrance.
Actually, it'd be good advertising a couple of weeks before. That it was,
How about a minimum?
Yeah.
Minimum 1 week?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
that works.
Do you want me to see if SVT, I'm guessing might do kind of the same thing, but I asked them to do the same thing,
Yeah.
at least a week ahead of time.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Who do I give this to sign? All right, there's 2 copies.
Oh, actually, no. Jim signed it. Actually, why don't you, that's not a copy.
Oh, yeah. That's actually the other.
Was there another copy of this?
Yeah, it's
other
right
one?
there.
Oh, there it is.
I have one.
Yeah, Jim, can you sign 2 of those? Give one to me and one to John? John, right?
Yes.
Yeah. John, what's your last name?
Kazanjian, Kazanjian.
Okay.
Probably should have said that first, huh?
This will be today's date?
Yep.
Do you have to stamp them or anything?
Thank you.
Nope, I'm good here. One for you, one
Thank
for
you very
me.
much.
We're good to go.
Good night.
Okay. Continued public hearing, notice of intent, 73 Howell Ave, 17-57, Mass DEP -204-859, construction of a single family.
Good evening, Ted Doucette and Glenn Berger here again for the follow-up from last week. We were here with some corrections from the meeting before, and we're given a couple other items that were requested to be changed on the plan. What I have here. Amy, you can check me on this. There was some erosion control that was requested, that instead of just straw wattles, they requested backed with silt fence for a portion of it. It was a very small portion that was not going to be backed with silt fence, so we just said, just have it all be silt fence and straw wattles, so there's no questions out there. There was also a request to have an erosion control planting area planted at the bottom of this slope here, so we have a 10-foot wide and it's about 65 feet long. There's a dry conservation seed mix that is that I specified there, along with plantings of some perennial shrubs. I have a shrub that I picked from I can't remember the exact document, but it's put out, it's a state document that has certain plants and things. So I picked out, what was the Canadian yew, I think I picked out, and, or approved equal. And that approval would be through Amy and through me at that point, I would believe. There was also some notes added about soil storage and getting rid of the knotweed, Japanese knotweed, to dispose of that properly. So there's some notes on there. Another point that was brought up was some trees that we found that were within the 50-foot and outside of the 50-foot, beyond the 50-foot, that we wanted to have demarked to keep, or which ones were going to be removed, mainly the ones that were going to be kept. There's a note specifying these 2 trees here to be kept, and then there's also a note showing that all trees within inside the 50-foot shall not be cut. And then there's a 6, a 4, and an 8 here that are outside of the 50-foot by about a foot or so, and those are proposed to be removed.
Okay.
Was there anything else? I had to.
Is the,
Oh, you moved the house a foot?
Oh, right, the house did move a foot as requested, yes. And that was a foot further from the resource area.
and is there CR in any of that?
No, the CR is down here.
I'm just asking, so is it,
Yeah, the CR is down here, so there's no work proposed in the CR.
no, but is it posted? Will
Yes.
that be posted?
It's been posted.
Oh, yeah, that was part of the, we did that, the owner did that a couple months ago.
Okay, and I think we talked something about orange snow fence for limited work on something there, and I don't remember now exactly. Besides the silt fence, just to keep people back.
Right, and I thought about it, and I couldn't remember exactly where. So what we've talked about, what Amy and I talked about, is she said that there may be some changing of some wording and some other notes clarified to be more clear from your point of view. You know, from my language, they seem clear, but again, if someone picks up and reads, it may not be clear. So there may be some changes to that. So if there's some specific areas that we want to put that, I can add it to the plan, because it sounds like there's going to be some revisions. And I know we're not going to close tonight because we haven't heard from Natural Heritage about the conservation restrictions. So I could submit another plan, and Amy could just look at it and say, check, 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 we did these three things. So if there's any wording that wants to be changed, you guys can get that to Amy, or she can give it to me. And then if you want to tell me where to put the snow fencing, that can be added to the plan. We already have, well, we had the wattles that were marking the 50-foot no disturb, and now we're going to have vertical 2-foot high silt fence. So to me, it's pretty visible. I know the straw wattles may not be, it's an operator who spins around and doesn't see it. And now you've got the silt fence, it's a little more visible. Maybe we can find orange silt fence and kill two birds with one stone, I don't know.
I just remember that was thrown out, and it was something to
It was
do
behind
with,
the house, yeah.
yeah, someplace where it got pretty close.
Yeah.
Now we're 9 feet away,
I think that's why we were thinking about the.
and so the excavation would probably be
fencing.
about 3 feet beyond the foundation at the most, so.
I mean, can we just say that maybe just attempt to have the visible, excuse me, Jim, sorry, the visible line from that corner to that corner, so that you can just make sure that the closest area to the house is going to be the most visible?
Is that,
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Okay. So, since we're probably going to be revising the plan, I can put that on the plan, and Amy, I'll mark it here and here, and then when the plan comes in, you can leave it up to Amy just to verify that.
Or next
that
time
right?
you're here,
When, next week?
the 19th.
Well, we'll have to schedule the 19th. We don't know if we'll hear back from Mr.
Yeah.
Lynn by then.
out of curiosity, that's, no, I'm getting a month ahead of time, behind.
Birthday.
Yep.
So the only comments I had on this was literally some wording things, and was kind of assuming it would be in the order conditions, but if we have time, I'd like to see it on the plans too, about marking the trees that either for cutting or not cutting, whichever way, a week notice before construction, because I think this one's gonna need to be watched, so, that sort of stuff, it seems to make sense to have it on the plan, which one would hope the contractor would definitely look at, as well as the order conditions, which sometimes get lost in the paperwork. So that was what we were talking about, some of the, because you added, what, notes, K and L, Jake? You added a couple notes on there.
Couple notes
So
about,
it's just tweaking those.
They're getting very tiny.
what's that, the
A
notes?
lot of notes.
And it's getting longer. I have to start moving things around so I can fit them in there. But,
Yeah.
no, the font hasn't changed. It's just our eyes.
How about larger print?
You got room.
We're good now. I have room now. I mean,
Yeah.
Do you have the Board of Health yet?
no, no.
Okay.
So I guess at this point, we would request a continuance to the 19th in the hopes that we would have the wording finalized. We'll hopefully have Board of Health by that day, and we'll have Natural Heritage. So can we have the minutes reflect that those are the three things that we're looking for, just so that we don't come back and necessarily start revisiting other things that we know those are the, not saying we can't revisit, but if we have a list of what specifically needs to be done.
And a little bit larger print if you can. I mean, you got a whole,
I know, I will now. Well, this was over here earlier, and
yeah. No, it just seems like it's getting smaller and smaller.
it
all the
hasn't.
time.
It hasn't, Jim. It's been the same. But you're right, I'll go to .1 instead of .08. It's fine.
So the three things were natural heritage, Board of Health, the orange construction fencing.
Well, the plan revisions that you give
The-
me,
the
so
plan
which is gonna
revisions in general,
include the orange construction fencing and then whatever wording
Some
that
wording
you
stuff.
can, that you wanna change. Or massage.
Does anybody
I
in
guess.
particular want to work on the wording with me as well, or don't you really care?
Trust you to do it.
Okay, fine. Here's your shot. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yep, that's it. All right. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
And Jim, you might want to sign this. That's the SVT permit.
Out of curiosity, are you supposed to print my name too? It seemed to be required. Should I-
It's our form. Oh, perfect, yeah. Yep,
All that.
yep. Thank you. I got it, thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Cooper Farm discussion, enforcement order, construction updates, road and utilities, and 204-838-204839 houses.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Platt here on behalf of M&M Realty Trust. I'm here with Mark Arnold from Goddard Consulting, who is our wetlands specialist, and Ian Rubin, who you know from Mark Ian Rubin, who's our engineer. And we have a lot to talk about tonight. As you know, it's a big project, it's a big site, and we've had, there's a lot of development that's going on, and we've had a significant storm event in the interim. I think
Several.
and I think a number of you have had a chance to go out on site and see some of the efforts that have been taken. And there's been, as you know, there's been significant work done on site to stabilize it, to maintain the runoff, try to control the runoff. In particular, at the request of the board, we had put in additional rows of hay bales, we put in additional silt fencing. Very recently, a number of the lots, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, and then also 20 through 25 have been loamed, seeded, tackified, so those have been stabilized. I understand that when I think Amy was out on site with the developer, standing in between lots 4 and 5, you could see that those had been stabilized and that, you know, the runoff coming off was clear, did not have silt in it. We are still, very much looking to work with the board to make sure that we progress with this project and do what we can to help stabilize it and help the development go forward without having impacts. And there has been, admittedly, there's some impacts which the developer has been on site to the extent there's been some silt that has transferred out, to have that be hand collected and cleaned up to try to get it back to the pristine state that we all want it to be in. That being said, looking obviously for the impact or input from the board, we'd like to have we'd request a lifting of the enforcement order on 4 and 5, because I believe those are now stabilized, and Mark Arnold can give you more details from the on what's actually happening out on the site.
So I think what we saw on Friday, I was on site from about noon to 4 p.m. on Friday. So I was out there around noontime during about the middle of the storm. I was there all afternoon, and I saw it near the tail end, near around 4 o'clock. I also was able to observe the stream channel at several different points during the storm, just to observe what the color was like, what the flow was like, just to see how that was behaving as well. So just as part of the follow-up to the last meeting, we are preparing what the commission requested in respect to a wetlands impact assessment of the entire site. I have seen, we've completed the majority of that field work, which included walking the entire stream from here all the way down to the field just before the stream goes to 119 and 2A. So I saw all 3 stream channels, which are behind the site, because we have the principal stream channel, and we have 2 interior stream channels that one drains from this wetland, one drains from this wetland, and then you have the principal one behind it. So I saw all 3 of those stream channels as well. So that assessment is being put together. Basically, we're taking our time to make sure we thoroughly document everything so that the commission can really see what our conclusions are physically from the photos that we take and the conclusions that we come to on that matter. We have the lab work all set up to get that testing to you, the results to you. The lab takes 5+ days to process the data, so we expect to see that data middle of next week, and we'll get that to you as soon as possible. And we'll be very. My goal is to be very proactive and that those samples will be the most representative possible of the basin. We've sampled where we want to. We're not going to do. We didn't sample near the structures because that's where concentrated flow has occurred, which means it's probably more diluted than a depression in the basin that actually would collect more possible oil or other petroleum products, which is the product that we're searching for because of the equipment on site. So from the site review, we had about 3 inches of rain on Friday, which was a pretty significant rainstorm. Basins 2, 3, and 4 all held and had capacity by the end of the storm. Basin 1 did fill around 3:30. I know Carl was there after me and did see that as well. So although I was hoping it was going to hold, I was actually fairly glad that I was actually pretty surprised that it actually held that long, considering the amount of rain we had. So it did actually take a long time for that basin to fill, which shows that we actually extended the peak flow of water that gets to that basin by stabilizing the lawns above that. And as Amy saw as well, the loaming and tackifying of the lots around that created basically clean flow right off those lawns, which really shows the effectiveness of the stabilization with the loam and the hydroseeding and tackifier.
Now, what about in that basin, was there residual silt in the bottom that did resuspend and
Yes.
then?
There was certainly some resuspension that did occur. I believe that there is definitely resuspension, but we're also working on, again, stabilizing the front lawns of those houses to keep the water that's on the road clean as well.
So when it overflowed.
It was silty. It was silt coming out of the impoundment.
So there was.
And did the silt fencing prevent it from
It-
going beyond the line?
There was some notice that you could see. You did see some. You as you went down, you did see a clarity in the water changing. So the water was at the first. So our first DCB, just right below the outlet structure, there was silty water. The second row also had silty water. The next row, you could see a marked difference in the water color. As you looked into the woods, you could see the color changing as it went down, which showed that each check was actually providing additional treatment to the water itself.
I would agree with that. That's what I saw also. I gotta tell you, I was very concerned with the amount of silt coming out and the volume coming out of that pipe.
Yeah, that can really flow.
That was really, and it was going smack down into it was charging into the wetland, man.
Well, that's why. That's why when we have the stabilize, I want us to look at that outlet structure in particular with the commission to understand, because I think first of all, the flange has not been, the velocity is an issue because the flange stone, I believe, is all in place there, which means you're going to get more dissipation of flow.
Yeah.
And we can also possibly widen the spreader out and also shape it. So usually I've seen spreaders where you actually have, it's almost like a depression that's swaled, and then at the end it's almost a kind of a T. So the water has to actually, it's almost in its own little, it's almost a little basin in itself. The water drops into the basin, it goes down, and then it spreads out and it makes a T, so basically to dissipate flow again. So again, the wider you disperse the flow, the lower the velocity will be when it leaves. So that's what we want to look at that particular location, just because we are seeing that characteristic forming in
I
the
also
area.
saw flows to the side of that weren't coming down the hill, that were not getting into the retention pond.
Are you
or the
talking
detention
on
pond.
this? Are you talking on the far
I'm
side
talking
here?
on Pickard's side.
On Pickard's side. So we did see that. I mean,
And it was making its way down.
There was some there. When I got there
It
at
was
noon.
noticeable enough that it was falling. There was at the toe of the slope. I could still see it flowing.
Yeah, when I got there at noontime, there was water starting to flow there. We moved the wattles accordingly, so we did
It still wasn't enough.
It still wasn't enough. I agree. It was during the storm. We couldn't bring equipment into that area, so I moved the wattles accordingly, basically to get enough there. I don't feel that there was a wetland impact from that water that got around it because it was such a small amount. But again, I agree. I concur that it's something that we do need to address in that corner, which would be basically to try to stabilize the little gully that's formed in that area, install additional erosion control so that any water that wants to try to get around that basin, when we get to the side of the basin, we can actually direct it into the basin itself, which is what most of the water was doing there.
And I guess the other question I had on the basin, I know you have silt in there, but it seems to me that when you get these rainstorms, it overflows. It's overflowed every single rainstorm. So I'm starting to look a little. I'm actually concerned that basin's not constructed properly.
So
It's not
I'm gonna
It's not
direct
big enough.
I'm gonna direct that question to Ian.
It's not
I mean,
big
I
enough.
understand.
It's getting way too much water.
I understand the issue, but I think Ian Rubin, because he designs these basins, he understands how they function, and what their intent is.
Oh, it's got a whole water, and it has not held water.
Or it needs to, maybe it needs to.
It's
be
been
elevated on the
they had
south
pumps going on the thing, full steam ahead, pumping water out of it to try and keep up.
I think that with this, first of all, once this is finalized, built, okay, it holds water up to a point. I don't have the actual calculations with me, but I know when we did this is only to slow it down. There certainly is water going through here. The problem with the way this is built and in the order of construction here, this infiltration basin, number 2, should also be collecting a fair amount of this water, but it's bypassing this basin at this point. The reason it's bypassing this basin is because they don't have berms on the road, and the catch basins are not catching the water as they should because they're in the construction phase. So we kind of bypassing this, and I mean, if we're getting major storms, that could be a problem. And I think one way to solve that is to try and intercept this water somehow. And we're going to have to take a good look at that and try and figure out to try and intercept.
Maybe it should.
Yeah,
Is that basin 2 you're saying?
that's basin 2.
Okay, so is that complete?
It's already made.
Basin
Yeah.
two, Basin
They're
2 is
all in place.
complete, and it's never gotten more than
You-
the highest it's
yeah,
gotten
you
is
have
about a
room over
foot
there.
It doesn't-
below
yeah, it's a-
the top. So it has
Right.
That one
it has
basin.
extra capacity
Right,
in
and
it.
it's a
that-
bigger basin than this one, and, you know, it should be getting more water, and I'll certainly take a look at that. I mean,
Well, stuff was recently redirected into Basin 2,
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
in the last week or so.
Yes, so we saw more water go in Basin 2 this last storm than
Oh,
the
okay.
previous storm, because we were careful to make sure the lawns on the back, around the back of Basin 2 were being directed toward it. Again, where our focus is trying to keep water off from running off the roads if it can, because that's where it's silty off the road. Let's keep it off the road if we can contain it in that area. So that's where we have the temporary basin on Lot 8 that actually held quite a bit of water, which would have gone to basin number 1 if we hadn't actually built that in. So we were able to get that in, even though that was the tail end of our priority list that we had put together. We were able to actually get that in, which held water there. So I mean, and then with all stormwater basins have an outlet of some sort. They have to. They're designed to prevent peak flow, which is basically preventing a river, and so they hold the river back but let a stream out in a way. So basin 1 is it is holding water, but not as much as it will when it's cleaned out.
It's supposed to sit there and get treated, is the idea behind it. It's not supposed to necessarily,
There's
every
treat-
storm
yeah,
event
you get
flow
treatment.
out.
You get treatment. So when a site's fully stabilized, you have your coarser sand material and some loam that might come off your lawns. That'll get sent to the roadway. The roadway will have catch basins. The catch basins have sumps. The sumps are designed for larger particles like sands. You'll see those settle out. Then you have the storm scepter. The storm scepter also removes some of the finer sediment that you would see on a typical roadway. And then it gets to the basin where you get additional treatment and cleaning. I mean, right now we have a basin that's being used temporarily, and then we have sediment that's entering the system that's finer than what is typically designed for on a typical roadway. On a typical roadway, when you're driving down the street, you see the sand that they spread. It's coarse, it's heavy. When it goes into water, it drops out of suspension quickly. So, but our main goal, what we saw here, first of all, is we saw that Basin 1 did not fill as fast as it could, and we also saw a significant amount of clean water coming towards it as well. So our goal now is to finish getting as much loam in strategic places as possible along the front lawns and back line of Lot 2 here, so that we can basically try to direct clean water to the system. So we've reduced the amount of runoff, and now we just need to get the rest of the runoff clean, which we feel we've been able to.
You can't prove by me that you reduced the runoff, just a layperson looking at that.
Well, in the sense that
I wasn't getting the feeling that anything's been reduced.
We had a similar storm we had a similar storm than this last storm a few weeks ago, and this basin filled within a few hours of the start of the storm. This one held for over 8 hours.
Yeah, but you were pumping at the same time.
We were, but at the
I mean, you can't be like every storm. You can't have hoses out pumping this thing.
No. I mean, at the end of the day, when this site is stabilized, this pond will hold some water and it will release water during storms.
If you weren't pumping, what the hell would have happened? It would have overtopped and the whole thing would have gone over.
But this pond is not here to necessarily hold all the water. It's there it's there to put a certain amount of water into the ground by infiltration. But there is a lot of overflow. But on all these basins, they have a small amount of infiltration and a lot of overflow. Once this
By design.
By design, right. All we're trying to do here is make sure that the amount of water that leaves the site is no more than in current conditions or prior to any construction. So that's how it's designed theoretically. During construction, it doesn't work precisely in the same way as it was prior to construction. I mean, because like your infiltration basin, your interceptor drains and so on are not operating properly. Your catch basins are not operating properly. They're certainly not operating properly because the water barely gets into the catch basins, and it doesn't collect the silt. Being able to that's why you put in your silt fences and your check dams and so on as additional means to hold back the silt. And the best thing that can be done is right at the end, there should be adequate enough staging of the water to make sure that the water is clean by the time it leaves. And I think as Mark was saying, we need to pay a little bit of attention to that. But honestly, I haven't even been to this site since the storm because I've actually just got back today from Florida, and I should go out here and take a good look to see exactly what's happening, and try and make sure that the flow is going in the right directions, and I shall do that.
And how about cleaning out the silt from Basin 1? Would that be?
I think that would also be something that could be a lot of help.
Well, it would be a help because you wouldn't have the overflow coming out of the pipe that's all silt.
Oh, and
That would certainly help your
Yeah, so
downstream.
we have two things we're trying to do at the same time. We don't want resuspension. We also don't want silt getting to the basin to begin with.
Yeah.
Because again, if the basin fills with water that's going in that's got suspended solids, then it can leave as that as well. So again, we're working on both ends at the same time, because even if you clean it out, we don't want it getting dirty again. So that's again, it's a major thing, because again, if we can take clean water,
How
get it off-site.
how are you going to get in there to clean it?
you'd walk between lots 4
You
and
can't bring a
5.
machine in there. Can you access that with a machine?
Yes, you can.
You can?
Yes.
Where?
In between lots 4 and 5.
Or you go through the houses?
There's plenty of space there's plenty of space between those two houses, which is an easement, a drainage easement that's allowed for access. So you get to the cul-de-sac
All
and drive.
ponds have to have access.
Yeah,
so-
there's full access to walk the biggest machine they have on site to that basin. So I think that's something that Ian will be assessing on the basins as well, is because just to provide those things. Just to provide some other context, I want Amy to know, just because of what I saw. So, I doubt you observed this. So, we did see a little bit of erosion coming down on the back of lot 11, because we hadn't finished loaming back there.
Yeah,
And we
Matt
saw-
showed me the
and
area.
saw-
We didn't go
and
down, but
we
he-
saw some silty water pool in that area.
Is that behind the two other impoundments?
No, it's over.
Is that where I met you?
It's right here. So basin 2, it's below basin 2 down
Yeah.
here. We have this low spot
yeah,
in
I
the
see
site
where
right
you are.
down here.
Yeah.
So that spot there, we saw silty water pond. We were able to direct a lot of it to basin 2 when we observed it. But we did see, which was really odd, we actually saw water. I saw silty water inside our erosion control. I looked outside our erosion control. The ground was completely clean. And then 5 feet into the woods, I saw water coming out of the ground. That was silty. So we had some sort of actual underground seep that actually got through. So it was something that you couldn't, it wasn't the erosion control failure, it was actually something underneath the ground, which we're gonna look at with basically, when we go back there, we just need it, when we loam it, we can compact the ground underneath it to make sure that there's no seep there again. And then when we loam it, we'll get the silty area that was drained to that spot will then be loamed, which will make the water runoff clean, which will make any water that pools there fairly clean, except for, you might see some darker loamy water, which you would see, but that's going to have more organic matter in it. It's not going to create a fine sediment that could actually create like a paste on top of the soils that it actually gets to.
Speaking of seeps, how about the one at Basin 3 that was seeping close to the outlet pipe?
The outlet there, the structure. So, I mean, I would.
Above it, you pull the big rock out from above it.
Showing Amy there's.
So that's fixed, that hasn't been undercutting?
Nope.
No. So yeah, overall, so you did see a little bit of weeping at both of the outlet structures, which but I've talked with the guys about, actually we've got a cap for the pipe, but we're gonna put Marafi fabric and then cap it, because the Marafi fabric is it's a very fine material that's really dense. You can't, it'll clean any water that gets through it basically. So we're almost like that. I wouldn't say 100%.
Except for the stuff at the point.
So we're capping the pipe, outlet pipes, and then we're doing the Marafi fabric as well, just as a double protection there. So I mean, I would expect to see some weeping
That's
of
at
water.
basins 3 and 4?
3 and 4 out of the outlet structures, but it'd be a dripple effect, which wouldn't get very far from the outlet structures themselves, and the erosion control should be able to handle them. And we're looking at, I've asked them to, I want fresh erosion controls below the outlet structures, which means I want everything that's there removed and then new stuff put in place, just because I know that some of the stuff there has been compromised with
silt in
sediment.
it, yeah.
So our goal is, if we have clean water coming out, we want to release it as soon as possible, as long as it's not erosive to the areas beyond it. Because if it's clean water that's supposed to get to the wetlands as clean, and everybody's happy at the same time.
Okay.
So what happened with the ponding of the silt?
So where, just pointed out.
The
so-
cul-de-sac? Yeah, where I met you. Where is that?
Is that
So that's
below
on
1?
That's on the outlet structure of 4.
down here.
So it's right here. Right here, right there.
Yeah, so we talked about that. So we've got a plug for that, and
We already have a plug on it.
and we're adding Marafi fabric to it as well.
Where's this?
That was at below 4 before I
plugged the.
Oh, so that's where
structure.
that stuff's been coming from, because I've noticed.
Yes. So the actual
So,
structure had a hole in it.
I assume the dewatering pipe is going out that,
Yes.
over, the hose is going over that one,
No,
yeah.
not the hose,
No, it
no.
wasn't a hose.
No.
It was
No,
from
That's
the.
on
That was-
4.
No, I know this isn't the hose, oh, this is on 4.
on
I can
fours.
show you
Oh,
what-
okay, I know where it is, I got it.
It was heading down
I'm s- oh,
towards,
that's
was
yours.
heading down
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
the stone wall.
Yeah, I hear
But it was quite.
Remember we
it was
cleaned
quite
everything
big.
up.
it. Was that the old sediment
No,
No,
moving,
that's- no,
or
that's-
that was
no.
new stuff?
no,
That was
that was actually water coming out of the structure that has a hole for the 10-year or
Right.
20-year. So I actually filled the concrete.
Okay, yes.
I plugged that actual plug, so no water can go into it unless it gets up to the 100-year now, instead of the 10-year.
Right.
So I had plugs in my hand, and we
Yeah, I saw the piece of wood that was,
yep. So
Part of that,
I
yeah.
actually plugged it, so now we're gonna hydraulic cement it until there's no more silt in the bottom of the
Yep.
pond. I mean, that's, the majority of the, the silt is coming from, is actually from the actual pond itself right now.
Yeah.
When water was coming in from around the over 55, where it was long, it was clear. It's getting resuspended as it gets into the ponds, like unbelievable. Pond 4, before the storm, was fairly clean with the flock.
Did it get below the stone wall?
The
No.
velocity
No.
came in.
Is the wetland at the stone wall?
It's just below it.
Okay.
So,
So-
yeah, that
So
stone
it's
wall, that
above.
stone wall actually acts as a fairly good barrier to
Yeah.
run off. So-
Have
Well,
you been out there
that's-
since, Carl?
No.
Yeah, so I mean so that's an area that we can address. We can add erosion control there above the stone wall. I mean, just to add a check in the woods there, which would.
What's the pile on 4? What was that?
Huh?
What day was
That was the day of the storm.
That's what we carried out
Out
There was
from,
yeah.
by hand in buckets. And
That
that's
was
only
from
half
we
of
The
it.
took out.
afternoon.
So
of the
Yeah,
day of the
we didn't
storm.
have time to remove it, so I just told them
It
to
was
target
gang, you know.
completely, so we didn't see any
The wetlands
erosion
right
off
here.
it. So it
Yep.
stayed. It
Looked
was a
like the woods was somebody cleaned up a lot of it down below them.
We did.
Yes, a significant, we're very close to finishing up the cleanup down there. So we're working in a very concise kind of swinging through sweep to clean everything out. So we've removed a lot of the material already. We still have some down there to do. Which is why, again, I mean, there was silty water coming out, and it might have been some resuspension again too, because we're working to clean that area.
Yeah, well,
it's pretty dense.
it caught my attention, obviously, because it was heading
Yep,
towards the wetland.
yep, yep,
Didn't make it, but
yeah.
it was, very obvious and,
Yeah.
it just wasn't right.
I agree. We're working, and that's, I mean, we feel that, I mean, we did not do a perfect job on this storm, but we feel we definitely did significant
There's
improvements.
no
And that's,
question
and it
that
shows
you-
us, and it showed us where our
We
weak
saw
points
it.
are.
We've been
So-
there.
I'm not saying that you didn't try. I mean, it's
Yeah.
obviously you worked the area
Yes.
hard. It's just stuff.
It's
still getting around.
And yeah, and it takes refinement. And I mean, the storm put us through a lot, and we held a lot, and we also found our weak points, and we're working to continue to work on those weak points, and we feel that we're close to getting
weather's
really good
changing.
control. And we're watching the weather and thinking about even how the snow removal is going to work, and how we can try to keep. We want to encourage the snow to melt in strategic places where we can collect the water, keep it clean, and get it off site as soon as possible. Because we want to keep. We prefer to have bare ground that we can work to stabilize. And so those are the things that we're working through as a team in those areas. So, and again, I would say again, I mean, it was great to see how the loaming and the seeding and the tackifier really helped stabilize the lots like lot 4 and 5 to show that basically that those lots
It's
are
still very, very saturated, as you'd expect.
Yes.
Underneath all that stuff that you're talking about,
Yep.
it's like really mushy and saturated.
Yeah, because it's
Oh.
Dried out a lot today.
it dried out. After a large storm like that, you're going to expect it to be soft,
Yeah.
to be a soft area until everything kind of settles in, and I mean it'll take a little bit of time for that. But overall, but the main thing was the water silty or clean coming off those lawns, which it was clean, which was really encouraging for us.
And we do want to differentiate between the orders on the lots, on lots 4 and 5 versus the roadway overall, because admittedly, there's the work that we're still doing and we want to do to help stabilize the project as a whole, which the roadways impact, or are the main impact of. But on lots 4 and 5, those individual lots, those have been, we believe, stabilized as can be seen from the water runoff, which is coming off of those. There's water supposed to come off of it, but it's coming off clean, given that it has been loamed and seeded and tackified.
So, and just for a walkthrough of what to expect in the next few weeks. So, we're working with the curbing and the contractor to get those things installed. So we're working on getting the granite curbing on all the radiuses installed. All of these are basically preliminary measures to get ready for the sidewalks, but we're also getting those any curbing we can get done is going to help kind of stabilize the edges of the road where you have runoff running along the edge of the road. Because again, our goal is to try to keep the clean water with the clean water and get it to a place where it can leave the site clean and keep the silty water contained on site.
Is it going to be vertical
So
curbing or angle curbing?
There's slope curbing on the angles, and and then
Is
it's
it
hot
just
berm everywhere else.
It's just shaped asphalt, is that what you're doing?
So that's going to be all the radiuses are granite. So we're going to be working on the radiuses around the cul-de-sac, around the
Cul-de-sacs.
curves, getting those in place, which are also areas where you're going to see water kind of turning the corner and wanting to jump off the curve. So that's going to be an important factor to get that actually installed. So we are strategically thinking about what we have to do next, how we can do that and not hurt us, and actually how can we use what we have to do to improve the stabilization of the site at the same time. Strategically planning our different moves and different areas we need to do work. How can we make sure that doing that work is actually going to hopefully be more proactive in protecting the site from future erosion, and hopefully improving all the conditions on the site at the same time.
So we're gonna spread, I mean, we can spread loam on the over 55 center circle to reduce any runoff coming off of that center circle. I'd like to grade that, loam that up. And I'd like, weather permitting, I'd like to get Patriot in there to clean out ponds 3 and 4 and give them some more capacity and let them, for the first 3 or 4 months, they did drain prior to getting any silt in them when we first started those ponds. But right now, there's probably 8 inches of silt in the bottoms of those ponds. Pond 4 we drained today. Pond 3 only has probably 4 or 5 inches of water in it, and it's it's full of silt still. So
Are you going to
when we
do one
have
at
a
the same
large-
time?
I would like to do pond 3 for pond 4 first, just because that one's, if we do that one first, and then if there's any runoff from anything that goes into that one, it would come out cleaner than going into pond 3.
Are you
Pond
still
4
planning to
dries-
pump from 4 to 3?
Yes, and if it's clean, no. But I mean, right now that's the only option to even do anything with any of the water right now, because it cannot go through the ground. It cannot go through the pipe and discharge out because it's too silty.
It can't infiltrate. That's the problem with all the silt in there.
Right.
And it's supposed to be infiltrated.
We're gonna build 2 more, tomorrow we're building 2 more hay bale corrals and another waterfall, and we have additional silt
For the flock logs.
for the flock logs.
For the flock logs to work better.
We're gonna put 2 more check dams in the field. I think we could have used at least 1 or 2 check dams with that amount of rain that we had.
Are you using flock logs in one as well?
Yes.
They're in every one.
They're in every basin, yeah.
Everywhere, okay.
They're in the inlet pipes.
Right,
Yeah.
so the water flows over them, but with the normal flow of rain, if you had a half-inch rain, if you had an inch of rain, the water quality was, clear in pond 3 prior to a 3-inch rainstorm. The velocity of water that went in there, the amount of water that went in there it's more water than it's designed to go in there at a completed site.
You just mixed it all up.
And there's no place to put it unless you put it in the field, try to treat it, try to check dam it all the way down that field. The water coming out of the very end of the field, for the majority of the storm was crystal clear. It did get a little cloudiness coming out of it, but it by the end of the rain, it's gone.
Do you figure you can get that pond cleaned out before we get another?
I can work on pond 3 or pond 4 tomorrow and scarify it.
Do you think you
Yeah.
can do it?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that I had to do on the last storm that I think I got done. I actually did a couple extra things with loaming
Yep.
parts of over 55 and grading that.
They got
Yeah.
more done than we thought they were going to get done last week.
I think the site overall right now is
All the
drier
fields
now.
were out there running equipment.
There was
Yeah.
the football and a lacrosse team were there
Yeah.
carrying hay bales.
I think overall, the site's a lot drier now today. You can walk almost anywhere without sinking up to your knees in mud. Even out behind pond 3 in the lower area that was grass, it's dry today. It's amazing now that the frost is gone, the drainage in
the wind.
in the wind.
Wind really did.
Do you have a place you're going to put the silt from Basin 4? Because it's probably going to have to de-water, I assume. It might be coming out of there kind of wet.
Yeah,
So you might want to be careful where you stack it. It's just going to...
We'll-
Yeah.
You don't want it to re-enter.
It'll be placed, yeah.
I'd like to have Mark ask,
Find a place to
show
put
me
it.
that.
We'll look at it tomorrow.
Think
when I'm
about
out
it.
There, yeah. Either I'd prefer to see either it buried completely,
There's probably
or
200 yards of silt in there.
or it's going to be, or we do have the ability to, we could stockpile it and then do a foot of loam on top of it, which would also.
Yeah, it's probably going to be stuff that can move
Would
pretty
you-
easily
yeah.
if it starts raining on it again.
That would be, so we're gonna.
I'd rather do that. That would be the easiest and.
Yeah, we can put it next to a loam pile and then pile loam all over it. If you do a foot of loam over the whole thing, you're not gonna see silt move out of the pile.
Mix
Could be
it
up
too.
above the septic system or something, you'd start prior.
Well, the only problem with that is that there's
Goes into
actually,
the other one.
that gets into the cross culvert if you do that because it comes across there and that actually needs a little bit more loam on that in that open space field right there at the toe of the slope. That's, and it's
Yeah,
more just
it's-
loam coming across that right there.
Yeah, it's mostly just a loam runoff that we're seeing.
So
right
I
now.
wouldn't want to put it there. I'd rather put it in either the center of the over 55 and loam over it, and because we're going to grade up tomorrow. We're going to look at grading the center of the over 55. It's
I
dry
think we'll have
enough
to
now.
see where the best location is to site it, where we can place it, where we can keep it long term, but also keep it as far away from where it's going to see water get to it too. So
I
any,
can probably do one pond tomorrow.
yeah.
And get one of them done.
What, silt removal?
Okay. 2
Yes.
days, maybe.
Yeah, until
1
12
and a
o'clock.
half.
Yeah.
We have a day and a half until we have a lot of
I
stuff.
have a
but-
large
Mark,
piece of equipment and a
you'll be there
large
in the morning, right?
site truck that I can, I have a site truck that, a 6-wheel site truck that can move large amounts of dirt. We moved 400 yards of loam last Wednesday in one day, so. And I think that, those kind of measures are gonna really start having an impact on the quality of the, if we get the silt out of the actual ponds in this larger rainstorms, we're not gonna have the silty water that's just gonna have clean water coming in and turn into silt anyway, and it's counterproductive, but it had to have a temporary pond during the construction of this project anyway.
So after hearing the things we've worked on and what we're proposing to do, does the commission have any other comments or suggestions that we should look into? That, I mean, just from your observations on the site or other thoughts that come to mind, we really welcome your feedback on anything, Amy, as well.
Carl had the suggestion of the additional silt fence.
Yep. So and you, Carl, you suggested the additional silt fence down here, which was done.
We've done what you would.
So
Yeah.
yep. And so we're constantly looking at the measures that we do have that held this last storm to make sure that they're going to hold for the next
Yeah.
storm.
That's right.
And that's our
And the reason I asked for that was just with that velocity that I
Yep.
saw coming out
Understood.
of that.
Yeah.
Just,
Yep. Every check jam slows down the velocity. Yeah. And we're watching the measures that did hold this past storm to make sure that they didn't get partially compromised from the storm itself. To make sure that they don't fail the next storm. So that's another thing that we're
A stream channel was getting carved below Basin 1.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we're working to check it, and then again, I think when we're close to stabilization, I think Ian should look at it, and I think the commission might also want to suggest how we
Right,
can
if I
maybe.
can get in there, I can get additional
Yeah.
riprap at the bottom.
Yeah,
when we're
and that's going to be
cleaning that out.
when we clean it out, we can get down there and take a look at how best to shape
Yeah.
that.
But I assume
better
the ConsCom might want to see a
dissipation.
plan of that first.
Understood, understood. But yeah, we
So
have.
that's
to
probably going to go beyond the
yeah.
original hay bale line.
Just it might
Give or take, but, yeah.
it might be a situation where we place the stones and then maybe when we pull the hay bales out, that's when we do the shaping and
Rebuild it, yeah,
when
yeah.
everything's clean. Just because we don't want to bring equipment down that slope in that area because it's stable right now, and we don't want to compromise any of that area right now. It's fairly stable. So I mean, adding the additional spreader later on is going to be for the long-term benefit.
And I like the sound of channeling more toward that
This
basin
point.
number.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
just got to take a close look and see
Yeah, I think
why this
there's
one's getting so much, this one's not
Yeah.
getting so much. So that's an important
Yeah.
thing to
The
look at.
curbing's gonna happen as
Place
soon as
there that
possible.
It looks like it's just a hole or something you dug.
Up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we basically, so Lot 8, basically, almost all of Lot 8 was draining towards the roadway. And it was basically completely open. They're not going to be building a house there for a long, long time. So I said, dig where you're putting your cellar hole.
Well,
Wait a
And-
minute.
yeah, so,
We're building Lot 8
so,
right away.
but we will stabilize that, you know, the,
So I shouldn't bother asking if there's still water in it.
it drained out, the more, majority
Did it?
drained
Yeah.
out today, that's very good gravel.
It seemed to
there.
work fine. I was afraid it might breach if it gets another
Yep.
bunch.
No, it
The
drained
little
out.
Lot 8 thing.
It's, you know, it's fairly good gravel right there, so, it drained out, but, you know,
We're working the grades as we're working the lots. Our goal is to work the grades to the best advantage to minimize erosion. So I mean,
And
our
runoff
goal
from the
our goal is to have erosion control so that we have less sediment control required. It's a
I
twofold.
noticed you had hydroseeded, I guess, quite a bit of, but you left kind of on the curb there, there was nothing to hydroseed.
well, so there's no loam there, and so we met with our site contractor today. Their intention is, the very first time the plan opens up, we're gonna curb the whole road and then prep for sidewalks for the whole area, all the way down to probably lot 18. That will reduce any runoff that's migrating along the edge of the road and picking up sediment. Paving plants usually open up mid-March. They're gonna start immediately with granite curbing, and the radius is, you know, probably, they can't do it, they
Yeah,
can probably start Monday.
they're prepping the granite races. They're also going to also be prepping the base of the sidewalks, which is going to be a gravel material, which is along the inside of this road, which is the worst part, which is the worst side of the road right now, because that's where the runoff comes off the most. And that base and that prep work is actually going to be a benefit to keeping the water cleaner.
But that won't happen until next week, right?
Till next week, yep. So I mean, this week we're gonna have snow and that's it. But we're paying attention to what could happen the week after that because.
But you're gonna do
they're
desilting
talking
before,
I think they're
before
talking
the
Tuesday.
storm,
Yes,
right?
yeah, I'm gonna
One
try,
on
I'm gonna get,
Wednesday
and if I can get 3 done, I will.
Monday.
Over the weekend. Another
Monday,
one up.
Monday. There's a storm forecasted. They're not saying what it is. So And so our opinion is it's going to be rain because that's the worst case scenario, and we want to be
Try to be
we want to be
prepared
prepared for that scenario, because we don't want to wish upon a star that it's going to be snow again. We're going to prepare for rain. If it's snow, we can say our thanks.
Okay.
Can I ask a couple things, unless somebody
No,
else is in the
no.
middle of it? The flock logs in the hay bale corrals, is that worth it? Do you,
I believe
you
it's.
think
I believe
it-
it's. I, believe
I
it's-
just saw
believe-
running water and I said, let's make use of it.
I believe it's worth it.
We actually
And
have to
tomorrow,
move and make new
and
ones, 'cause it
tomorrow,
didn't
and
work so
tomorrow,
well.
I'll be checking the placement of all those to make sure that they're in a good place.
Yeah.
For the
Sediment dropping out
for
is
their.
unbelievable.
There was so
Yeah,
that's good.
it's that flock logs at the end of all the pumps should be is proactive, and it will significantly.
Because that field is getting really saturated.
That's why that's been my that's why I've been working to try to get the site stabilized, because I want that field to stay. I want that. I don't want that field to get overused.
The,
Thank you, Andrew.
there is an old, what I assume is an old sediment area at the base of Lot 5 that we walked across, kind of where the
Yes.
hose was running. Did
I
you notice that? All
When
right.
I did the wetland assessment, I did spot that.
Yeah.
And I flagged it, and I said we'll
It's some coarse stuff, so.
it's some coarse
it
material.
just never,
we
we never saw it.
I think the leaves blew over it.
Yeah.
And it got missed. But it's something that I did note, and that we will take care of.
The little basin that was built in Dean Lane,
Yep.
in that cul-de-sac, that did breach, but it breached into the road, into the catch basins and into basins 3 and 4, so it kind of did what it was supposed to.
It
But
did detain
yeah,
water.
is that going to go away when you hide your seeds?
I would like to grade that and loam that as soon as possible.
All right.
Um,
If the entire cul-de-sac is loamed, I don't think there's a need for
Need
it.
for that, okay, 'cause
As long
it had
as
been
the
it-
whole cul-de-sac is loamed.
It performed.
And we'll work from the top down when it comes to working that proposed
Yeah.
loaming.
Would that be
So-
able to be done before this coming storm,
Well,
or is that
that's
next?
why I don't want to say it's all going to be done, but I'm going to say we're going to start from the top down. So the top gets stabilized, it's cleaner water, and then that way the berm would stay, and the berm would be the last thing that would go.
Right.
Okay.
Just because I want to keep it there as long as possible
Yeah.
until we're ready, until we know it's not needed.
Right.
It was a good thing to have.
It captured some sediment, it detained water, and then it did release eventually, and that was the goal. It did perform what we were looking
Actually,
for.
I think it broke towards the end because it never really scoured all the way down to the bottom of the.
Yeah, it was just the top piece of it
Just
did
the
it.
top of it, and it didn't even break near the bottom where the stone and
Yeah.
Marafi paper was anyway. That's dry today too. I mean, I think there was still a little bit of frost where it wasn't leaching through. That whole area is, actually someone drove through the middle of that, drove out behind where you and I and Sarah walked.
Oh, yeah.
Up around the septic system and
Are you
out.
serious?
Somebody drove through there?
In a truck.
Well, I'm impressed the truck isn't still there, so.
I would say it was last night at some time because it wasn't.
There was somebody had driven through some of that. I saw that Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and I can't
I
believe
saw you
that
up
they,
there. I was
didn't,
there working.
I can't believe that someone didn't get stuck there, but
I can't.
But it's
So that's
a lot-
good.
It's a lot drier there.
It's dry,
so-
it's very good.
The Basin 3 outlet, I didn't look at it. Is that not discharging on the long one at the other end of the field?
long one?
So we had
So
I-
you-
I-
it's
It
totally
is-
capped. It was
is-
leaking.
Yes, we're expecting to see weeping in there because it's such a long run with the stone around
That's true, too.
around it.
Yeah.
So I am expecting we would expect to see some weeping in that area, but we're not going to see flow out of the pipe. But you might see trickle of water coming out.
Yeah, it hasn't looked terrible in terms of
So,
silt at the bottom of that.
I haven't seen
but-
flow come out of it, but there is water kind of ponded in the area.
Yeah.
It's kind of meandering out.
And during that storm, I had a pump outside, and then, and still right now, if you look, there's a pump inside it with a float on it.
Oh,
So
right, yeah.
It keeps it 4 feet below the invert of the pipe going out right now, so.
Yeah.
There was the holes inside the actual structure that for the 10-year or whatever, it goes out, but no water goes out into that, it all goes up into the hay bale corral.
Yep.
And, I
Which
got-
then weeps down, hits the trench, follows the trench.
You know, so we talked about this too today. We got another 100 hay bales, and we're gonna make some half moons out in the field to check the water. So, I mean, during that storm, we had the 3 inches of rain on the ground that came out of the air. Then we also had the rain water, we had the water coming out of the ponds. And if we don't do something proactive about it, the field is gonna get saturated with silt. So, you know,
I mean, our goal is to keep the field as clean as possible and collect it where we can, because
It's a great piece of land to
if we
have.
can take, if we can collect the silt, we want to collect it and get it buried on site, in areas where we're working.
And I don't know if you guys want to hear about the turbidity stuff that he found, or just wait till the final report. It seemed like he had
Yeah,
a fairly
so-
good story to tell there.
Yeah,
I
so
think.
overall, so I mean, so one thing, so I mean, we do have, as the commission knows, there are several streets that come off of Goldsmith there. So you've got, like, there's Maplehurst and there's Oak Street, stuff like that. So up here, up top, the water was clean. It was under 10 IUs, which means you can see through like 2 or 3 feet of water. Down at the end of Oak Street, it was cloudier, so you did see it went from like 10 to like, I think about 20 or 30 IUs. I saw the abutter who has been watching.
Cammy Bean.
Who's been watching the stream. She said she had been watching it all day. This was about 4:15 when I was out there, and she said, yeah, the stream looks about the same, looks typical, which was good. I mean, I knew there wasn't anything coming out of basins 3 and 4, and so I knew it was going to be clean. But I wanted to see how the stream was behaving, even down. So I did also stop down on 2A at the culvert there, which was again it was slightly cloudier. It was a darker organic matter, which is expected because the stream bed is mostly a muddy bottom with areas of gravel, and there are also some sand deposits of light sand, which you'll see in our report. I was looking to kind of analyze the stream bed as a whole, and also looking for any sediment deposits. But overall, it was clean all the way through. Nothing that would have raised any issues of any residual sediment from the previous impacts as well. I didn't see anything that would have hinted at that.
She texted me.
There. So it was. It did get dirty. I mean, we do have. At the end of Maplehurst, the pavement actually discharges right off the pavement, right into a ditch, which goes right into the stream. And and all those streets also have stormwater pipes that discharge directly into the stream. There's basically little side channels that come off the stormwater that go directly into the stream there. There are definitely there's definitely oils and other stuff that came back. There was an oil sheen at the end of Maplehurst that I observed. That was probably deposited during previous storms from oil runoff or gasoline off the road there.
But that's coming from the roads.
That's coming
on
from the
the
road
roads
off
on
this
the-
site. Yep. So basically,
Not
yeah.
from the
So
site.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but then the goal was it was good to see the stream in during a storm to kind of understand what you would expect to see.
So what date was that you were measuring the NTUs?
So I was during the storm. I was out.
Friday.
That was Friday. So I was.
Was it the second?
So yes, the second.
Oh, because Cammy wrote to me, texted on the second. She said, water level's super high, but it's muddy but typical of these conditions, so.
roads gravel.
yes.
They're kind of like every other.
They're gravel and pavement.
Pine
Yeah.
Road
Maplehurst is paved.
is, yeah.
I mean, it's paved. It's paved.
Yeah,
around.
some-
You
some
can
have
see
catch
a
basins,
scour
some
line at
don't.
the end of the
Laurel's
pavement where the
grinding.
water comes off the end of the pavement and just runs over the ground and then drops right into the ditch, which goes to the stream, which is like 15 feet away. So I wasn't surprised when I saw it clean up here, because up here we have a large wetland system. So the water, any cloudiness that gets into the stream up there would get treated by the wetland itself. Actually, you do expect to see clean. And then once you get this straight shot going by all these streets at the same time, you would expect to see a little more kick up of sediment just because of anything washing off the roads. I mean, I'm not sure. I would suspect there's catch basins on the road. It's hard to say when the last time they were cleaned, and things like that. There, I don't even know if they have oil hoods or anything else in those structures.
This is very thick grass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and flat.
And so it's it cleans the water.
Cleans it,
I mean, it was a little. I mean, when I walked down here to this culvert, and it was a little cloudier here than it was down here, actually. So you saw a little bit of suspension in this area up here, and then it got cleaned down there, which is what wetlands do. They do a good job at cleaning our water, better than we do ourselves.
What else you got?
Anything else?
That was it. I think you've got 4 or 5 lots to talk about?
Yeah, so.
And-
So lots 4 and 5, we would like the enforcement orders lifted on those lots because we feel that those lots are stabilized, controlled. We're going to be continuing to watch them to make sure that they stay in control, and those lots also have been sold. So we're not asking the commission to lift the enforcement order that's on the roadway because we recognize that we did not perform 100% this last storm, and therefore we do not deserve that one to be lifted at this time. And we're still preparing information to be submitted as part of that enforcement order and the requirements of the commission.
What about that work that Carl wanted you to do about, with the,
The
yeah,
additional
right
surface
there?
down
Is
here?
that on one of the lots, or is that
It's-
just purely
it's-
work to be done in the basin?
I would say it's more associated with the basin.
Yeah, the easement, yeah, it's within the easement area.
It's contributed to by the backyard of Lot 4.
Yeah.
That's why Lot 4 was thrown in.
I don't feel comfortable lifting the enforcement order on these lots, is my opinion.
Not while they still have to do
No.
work to control
Right.
the water there, yeah.
And with a pending storm coming, I don't feel comfortable at this point. But you guys might think differently.
No, I would agree, especially with the problems with Basin 1 that we've been having.
I mean,
Yeah, yep.
that's
Yeah,
on the list of things to get to.
You know,
As
it's
soon as
still
possible.
early in March. I mean, it's just,
That's how I look at it.
if we had another week of dry weather, we could get in there and clean it up. You know, but we still have to clean that out, and until I get curbing in there, it's gonna immediately silt up after the next storm. I mean, it's just, until there's curbing in sidewalks, and the majority of the lawns in Mint Lane are, the front lawns are loamed. I mean, you know, we were getting runoff from upgrading of Lot 4 and.
So, I mean, that is
Yeah.
what it is, but we wanted to talk about lots 5 and 6. I guess we still need to file some paperwork and.
Why don't we let
talk about-
Jennifer talk about
Right,
it?
that's what I'm.
So we understand the commission's concerns about keeping the enforcement orders on lots 4 and 5. And we are proactively working to get those areas stabilized, and the areas above it, which is really the reason why Basin 1 is still a concern of ours, is because we're working on getting the areas above them stabilized as well. But we feel like getting lots 5 and 6 were critically because they actually have sheet flow that goes directly down to the erosion control. So having clean water in that area is a huge step forward. But we understand those things, and so there are questions about the amendments to lots 5 and 6, which Jennifer wants to reference, and I can provide some comments as well.
Perfect. And Amy and we've been talking about filing amendments for the orders on lots 5 and 6, because the actual house as it's cited is not where we had originally contemplated. It was based on requirements from the planning board that the location be shifted, but of course that has to come to you as well for your approval. We can do, the way had been planning on doing this was filing an amendment to the orders and coming in front of you and having those presented. Just as we were talking as a group, something that we might want to consider, and I put up to you to think about, is this is rather just a paperwork filing and a time filing. It might be a better service to the resource areas if instead of republishing a notice, we put the fees that would be involved in publishing a notice towards some sort of remediation on site, whether it's native plantings or something that the commission and the resource areas will get real value out of. I mean, I understand that it's administratively, it's good to have a amendment because you can see it being done, but I was looking for, to see if there might be another way to best use the funds to either improve the site or achieve some goal of the commission.
Or donation to the conservation in lieu of the paperwork fees.
I mean, still do the amendment?
We would,
Just-
we,
just
what we would do is we would,
not
we would
pay a
ask, we would
fee?
ask for a fine, what we would do is instead of notifying the butters, having to post a newspaper fee, and having to pull that paperwork together and submit paperwork, we would just submit a simple
plans.
minor, we would a request for a minor plan change, which would basically be,
Field
which is
change?
a minor field change, which is allowed under an order of conditions that does not require an amendment. That basically is very simple paperwork, less paperwork, less time and money spent on that, and then taking that money that would be spent on that and actually providing something that would actually enhance the buffer zone of the resource area there. Or it could just be a commission, the commission could consider it a fine of sorts.
I guess we'd have to see what's planned, or how much the change is, before we can make a decision.
You've already been through that on Lot 5, and you voted on February 5th to require an amended order of conditions.
Right.
Because the order of conditions
I
was going to
remember.
change.
We've already made
So,
that.
I
so
thought they
that
were
was the
talking about a
vote,
different
and back
one.
in February 5th, is the understanding was that you released the certificate of occupancy for Lot 5.
Right.
Because an amended order of conditions was going to be submitted, which never got submitted.
That's
So
how I remember
we
it.
can, we can,
That's what
we
we're
can
We
do
can't
that.
go
We're
back-
just-
we can't
we're
go back
We're
on
just
that.
ask, we're just, I mean, the commission could rescind their decision in the interest of what they're seeking to protect. And that's our perspective, in the sense of, is if we can put plantings, native plantings, on these lots, it'll be an enhancement to the resource area, which is, the purpose of the protection that this commission seeks to, uphold. Versus.
Sarah would.
She wouldn't go, no.
So so that's fine, we're fine, we will prepare the paperwork, we will expend those funds on preparing that amendment.
Better spent
I don't disagree with you, but we're
Let's just keep
into
going.
it.
I think we need
Yeah,
to
we already
follow
addressed
up.
the rest of the abutters, and we
Well, you
didn't
can do it
have
on
to-
lot 6 that way if you
So
want
they're
it.
just
I don't
us
care about
listening,
lot
us
5. I don't
again.
care.
Well, in the interest of time, so we understand the commission's opinion, and we accept that opinion, and we will follow through with that opinion. I would just ask the commission, I've seen this personally in other sites, in other towns. I would suggest the commission consider this as a possibility in the future, when there's a minor change that requires an amendment that is gonna be approved, that the commission would consider approvable, but wants a plan change. The commission might consider how funds might be expended to the interest of the resource area if something's basically gonna be approved anyway. Because it can be a significant cost, to spend, to have, someone like a consultant come to a meeting. You can take those same funds and put them towards plantings that actually are gonna enhance the resource area. They can balance out what was actually changed on the original order conditions, and again, it's an enhancement to the benefit versus seeing, the funds spended on paperwork and personnel. Just as a thought, I mean, I would just say that as something that I've seen personally, is I think you could actually really enhance the resource area significantly, or at least marginally in some way, versus just having paperwork go through your desk, and then the resource area sees no benefit at all, to that.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, we're fine.
that's
Good.
fine. I just want to say that just because I see that other towns do, and the commission can consider that maybe as you think about changing the way you do business, and for other applicants as well. It's just a thought.
All right.
Okay, that's fine, so we'll file those, we'll have it done by.
And you guys never really decided on Lot 6, so I just recommended that they might want to just bite the bullet, do an amended order of conditions for Lot 6. That way, the public notice and the
Same
abutter
time. We'll do it at the same
notification
time.
would all be at the same time.
Yeah.
They could come in and make the argument about the field change, but maybe it's just easier if you're already doing notification to just do it,
No
so.
problem.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We're going to follow the commission's instructions.
That was my
Then-
suggestion, that wasn't the commission
And then
instructions.
we'll-
We agree with you.
Is it
Yeah.
lot 15?
So the last one for today, I think, is just lot 15 that I had sent to you
Yep.
just earlier today. I did have a chance to make copies.
So this is lot 15, and these are just revised locations of the house, showing that the house is going to be further.
This house hasn't started yet, we
It
just.
hasn't been
applied
started
for
yet,
it.
but the proposed house is going to be further from the resource area than originally proposed. So 45 feet going to 46 plus.
The house is outside of the 50 plus?
Yeah. So that and so everything is moving further
Right, away.
away.
So the house,
Which Sarah says is okay.
so the house,
The box has just shifted slightly, so I wanted to,
Well, it
just-
looks like it's the same, but the wetland has moved further away.
exactly.
That's what moved further,
Yeah,
okay?
right, good.
Right.
If we could do that on every one, that'd be fine.
Right. Yeah,
No,
the
we
deck
moved-
just
where-
shifted
where
to
the
a
deck
place that's
location
further
was-
away from the wetland.
Yes, so we moved the deck to get further away from,
Because the deck is actually shifted a little bit
it's.
closer
yeah.
theoretically to where the wetland.
Anywhere inside that
It's-
50.
It's yeah, it's there's more buffer zone to the house, to the deck, than there was previously proposed.
Yes.
And that's.
But the house is very close to the 50-foot right there.
But it always was.
It always was.
It always
but yeah,
was, and if you look at it, it's actually, the original box was actually, there's more of it closer, actually.
But
Yep.
it sounds
So-
like if you have equipment there, it's gonna go into the 50.
Well, there is,
We're already in the
there
50.
there is equipment, I mean, you've got the sewer line that goes right behind it.
Oh, yeah.
and everything, so,
proposed-
so
oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's not, there's,
Access
so yeah,
easement.
so the access, yeah, so there's no actual, I mean, it's not, it's access behind it is already occurring. So it's, and then you've got the front setbacks from the town.
Right, so the force main's in now, it's stabilized behind there. The only work that's gonna be done behind there is gonna be the 3 sonotubes and the septic tank and tying into the structure of the force main. The grading is gonna stay the same that it is right now. Yep, and that's it.
And we'll be watching, and as soon as we can get any stabilization done, we'll be on top of getting it stabilized. We'll be right behind any disturbance that occurs.
Why am I having a perception problem with this? But that's okay.
You mean
I just saw
the
this afternoon, so I didn't really have a chance to look at it, and I may have disapproved this as a field change, but if here, as long as we're meeting, you should take a look at it, because I still, that's all I have to say.
Looks like the driveway's staying the same position, right?
Yeah.
No, wait. Doesn't have a driveway.
The old, the grayed out area doesn't actually show an older driveway.
Right.
Oh,
The
out.
driveway was on the lower side before, now it's on the higher side.
Isn't that a contour?
Oh, switched sides?
Yeah,
No,
so
I
it's on the higher
see.
side.
This is the proposed driveway right here.
Yeah, that would have been the old driveway.
Oh, yeah, off the front there. Yeah, the other driveway would have been on the other side, actually.
We mirrored the house.
Yeah, they.
Is this JJ's? Did
It
JJ
actually,
told us?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't, I added those 2 red dimensions because Amy asked
Yeah.
to see, so yeah.
So is it the same square footage of impervious
Yep.
area?
It's the house, because you
Did you just flip it?
Yep, they basically, you basically mirrored the house.
But it looks like you're, oh, okay, well, so the,
But
the
it's,
driveway, yeah, I go, okay.
but a portion that used to be over the 50-foot buffer is now out.
That's the deck.
Yeah,
Oh, that was the
there's-
deck just
That was
shifted
the
over, gotcha, okay.
Yeah,
So
but the
even
house,
though
the
deck
house
is
looks like
further
it's
down,
further
the
from the
distance
50 foot
is-
now, by a little bit, so.
So this was the original box that was proposed right here.
Yeah, no, it's still funny to me, because this distance looks smaller than this distance, the deck to the 50-foot, but it's
Yeah,
actually,
it's very,
Just look at
so
how- yeah.
it's,
it's deceiving.
yeah.
It's skewed, it's the.
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
that, yeah.
It's a very, it's a little,
This line right here is.
What has been
gradient line
helpful
right
in the
there.
past with things like this is an idea of the square footage of impervious with and without the change, so it's just
Yep.
very clear.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the 50-foot buffer is following the wetland line.
Well, it's not gonna dip down, because it almost averages out, but it's,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
it doesn't go like this and.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
get this dip because of the
So
next
it's
side's
falling.
going
yeah, I mean,
out.
unless,
Right.
you could argue there's a dip actually right
Yeah.
here.
And the arc right here. These are the 2 closest points of the 50-foot right here. And it continues that line across there.
Right, I got it, yeah.
And this-
If it's-
and so
if it's
this
spinning on a
point,
radius, it's
this
gonna be
point,
the same.
and this point are the 3 closest points, and then that gets that line right there.
But,
So with this plan, we were just really trying to be proactive of putting it in front of you, so it wasn't like Lot 5 where we didn't even know that, you know what I mean? We didn't even
Yeah.
know.
So your choices are to approve as a minor modification, require a whole new notice of intent, or an amended order of conditions. And this strikes me as a minor mod, but
In my opinion, it would be minor mod.
Yeah, but
What do you think?
I'm good.
Now, do I make a motion?
Sure.
I motion that the change in the position of the house on lot 15 be considered a minor modification or field change, I guess. Field change.
All in favor?
Aye.
There's only one left, right?
Good to hear the voice out there.
And I'll send you an official letter
Perfect, thank you.
when I next get a chance.
If you don't-
But I will also sign off on the building permit, which I've
Do you need all
got.
copies of them? Just as
I just need one.
I mean, if we want- if you-
I'll take this one.
You can have a couple, but yeah, we'll use some of them if you need.
Can we be on the agenda to come back and follow up on 4 and 5, post-storm?
Yes, I'd like to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
next hearing.
So the.
You really enjoyed coming here.
We love this place.
No, I think, because I think I think, you know, some of the things that we're gonna do prior to this storm going up.
It was taken off.
Some of the, follow up with
The,
the
yeah,
site
concrete to
contractors,
show us what
you
kind
know,
of,
that are scheduled to do some of their work.
soils
you
they
know,
want to.
whether permitting.
They're having.
Yeah, so we met with them today. We got a.
Having that.
Just a little bit.
Thinking it was raisins, I was gonna eat them. Been on a diet.
It looks like Keystone gravel that's supposed to cover a walkway.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think
So
it was
when you
Keystone,
say something.
yeah.
You didn't notice your good thing.
Are you kidding me? Matt, lot 8, that's out of the buffer zone, wasn't it? Was that where the one was out?
We're so
Okay.
far out.
Yeah.
But
All right. So you'll be coming in for building permit, but I got no problem with lot 8,
Not, no
unless you've really moved the house.
No.
No.
To the other side of the road.
So let's,
Actually, the house is a little bit smaller than what we're showing.
So when is the next hearing?
Next
the
hearing.
19th.
19th? Okay.
Looks
I will
like
not
you
be
guys
able
are
to
trying.
Not that we're, I mean, yeah, we're trying, but, you know.
Mother Nature is not cooperating.
All right.
I think Carl
Someone
had
should,
something when he
take
told
a
me
look
that
at
in-
the
what was
amount
that,
of rain
September?
that got dumped over Cooper,
Yeah.
because
I didn't buy
that
it.
was the large
No,
amount
I
of
could
little-
tell you
Thank
didn't
you.
buy it.
I read everything. And I went back home and started looking at it.
Still tailed right over
What
that part
did I
of
see,
the road.
Saturday?
Usually think about adding a rain
Last
gauge
days
to
of
the
the
side of your
Saturday.
trailer or something.
I know.
I started reading.
Well,
Because
I
I
Trying to
he
change
tells
my
me too.
opinion about
He
it.
has one, and Matt has one at his house.
You almost have to.
We get,
You really do. You almost.
Do you know how many
Janet has,
bad storms
the-
we've had in the last 3 years? That have
Right,
exceeded.
yeah.
Yeah. I know.
and I also get the stuff from Littleton, Light and Water.
So the.
Do you know the
I
number?
wasn't paying any attention. When did Andrew leave?
So wait, the next thing is on the 19th.
9 and way above that.
Whenever that was.
Yeah, I forgot, I saw him leave,
I
but I didn't look
gotta
at the
go
clock.
back and look that up.
Yeah.
Just before 10.
You didn't believe me when I said.
No, I didn't. I really didn't.
Inches of rain.
I really didn't.
No, I,
Who would think?
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thanks.
public hearing notice of intent for Cloverdale Conservation.
Continue to March 19th and possibly beyond, but the way it was phrased, we gotta have the Board of Selectmen meeting first. I don't think you're gonna get a decision from the Board of
That's because
Selectmen,
I
but
op- that's because I opened my mouth on the right away.
I think Sarah
Not the
said
right
it.
away, the,
I think Sarah,
Curb cutting?
yeah.
I think Sarah said that it wouldn't be continued until you've had a chance to coordinate with the Board of Selectmen, so.
Okay. So that's postponed.
But the increase, the cost increase did get the final sign-off approval for the boardwalk piece of it, but,
Okay.
does anybody wanna?
But, can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting at,
Motion to adjourn.
10:15?
I love doing that. That's the one motion.
Everyone say aye.
Wait, did someone second it?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?